Welcome to a time long before cities, before writing, before anything we would recognize as civilization. A time when the earth was still young in human hands, and the rhythm of life was slower, quieter, simpler. Let your thoughts drift back not just hundreds or even thousands but tens of thousands of years. Before kings, before books, before clocks, before anything had a name at all. You are now entering the Paleolithic era. The word Paleolithic comes from the Greek words paleos meaning cold and lithos meaning stone. It is the Old Stone Age, a time when early humans or hominins used stones not as decorations but as tools and even weapons. They chipped away at them with great patience of crafting shapes that suited their needs: axes, scrapers, spears, all from the cold, indifferent stone. But what did these people, these so-called cavemen, actually do all day? Let us imagine the dawn. The sun rises, not to the sound of alarm clocks or traffic, but to the low, rumbling growl of the wind in the trees and the distant cry of a bird, carried through misty forests and open plains. A small family group stirs in their shelter. Perhaps a cave, or maybe a temporary hut made from animal skins and branches. It is not yet a village, not quite a home, but it is what they know. A flickering fire, now reduced to coals, still whispers of last night's warmth. The first to awaken might be an elder, a quiet, wrinkled figure with memories stretching back through many seasons. They move slowly, not hurried by schedules or deadlines. Time flows differently here. Children stretch and yawn, rubbing their eyes, unaware that their lives will never be recorded in history books. They are anonymous yet alive. They giggle, they stumble on small feet. They play with sticks and feathers, perhaps chasing each other through the tall grass. And the adults, they begin the quiet routines of survival. There is no shopping, no internet, no cities humming in the background. Just the landscape, vast, untamed, and beautiful in its rawness. Some will head out to gather berries, roots, nuts, edible plants that only experience tells them are safe. Others will examine the sky, the tracks in the mud, the scent on the wind. These are the quiet signals of the hunt. There is no language as we know it. Not yet. Perhaps there are grunts, gestures, small vocalizations, but the meanings are shared without words. A pointed finger, a raised eyebrow, a short, sharp exhale. These things speak volumes in a world with no formal speech. And though we call them cavemen, they did not always live in caves. Sometimes they simply moved with the seasons. Nomads, roamers, always following the herds, always listening to the land. They did not sit around thinking about history, for they did not yet know they had a history. There were no clocks to tell them how long the day would be, no calendars to mark their age. Time was measured by the sun's angle, the moon's shape, the smell of approaching rain. And yet in this quiet world they were not idle. They observed the stars. They noticed patterns in the migration of animals. They learned which plants could heal and which could harm. They told stories around fires, perhaps with gestures and sounds more than words. Stories of giant beasts, of rivers that sang, of ancestors who walked before them and still watched from the stars. Their art began to take form. Cave walls, once plain, were now home to paintings, hands pressed in ochre, shapes of bison and deer. Not just decoration, but perhaps something sacred, something hopeful. A prayer, a memory, a lesson. As you listen, let your breath slow, let your thoughts quiet. Let yourself drift into the simplicity of that ancient life. A time when no one rushed, when nothing beeped, when sleep came not from exhaustion, but from a gentle fading of light and the crackle of a shared fire. We'll explore what else these people did all day, the tools they made, the myths they believed, the bonds they formed, but for no, breathe deeply. Let go of the noise of the modern world, and rest in the stillness of prehistory. The morning light stretches slowly across the land. There are no curtains to draw, no clocks to check, no appointments to attend. The sun, rising with its ancient rhythm, is the only schedule that matters. Our Paleolithic family stirs, wrapped in furs, warmed by the last embers of the night's fire. The world outside is cool, but not unkind. A light mist lingers across the grass, and the silence is profound, only broken by distant birdsong and the soft rustling of leaves. There is no rush to begin the day. The body wakes with the world. There is a moment, perhaps several, when nothing happens at all, just breathing, just being. Eventually, movement begins, slowly, rhythmically, deliberately. The men, though not always just the men, may begin preparations for a hunt. There are no rifles, no maps, only spears made of wood and stone. Carefully carved, patiently sharpened. A good spear can mean the difference between feast and famine. Before leaving, the hunters observe the land. They watch for footprints, disturbed grass, even the scent in the air. Tracking is a kind of silent language. One must learn to read the forest, like a book that never speaks but always teaches. Back at the shelter, the rest of the group tends to other quiet tasks. A woman, though not always just the women, might be weaving something from dried reeds. It could become a basket, used to carry berries or roots. The motion is slow, repetitive, almost hypnotic, under each strand interlocking with another in perfect, silent rhythm. Children are nearby. They mimic the actions of the adults. They poke at stones. They draw shapes in the dirt with sticks. They are not yet part of the work, but they are always learning, observing, soaking in the knowledge like water into dry earth. The gatherers move through the forest with soft steps. Every plant must be judged. Is this one safe, edible, medicinal, or deadly? There are no labels, no warnings. Only generations of wisdom passed down through gestures and memory. They move with grace, part of the land, not separate from it. Meanwhile, at a quiet stream nearby, someone is cleaning animal hides. The water is cold but refreshing. The scent of wet earth fills the air. The process is tedious: scraping, rinsing, stretching but necessary. Hides become clothing, blankets, shelter. Nothing is wasted. In this world, everything has purpose. Even the bones of the hunted animals are used, shaped into needles, tools, or sometimes left untouched, placed in quiet corners, as if honoring the life once held within. And always, somewhere nearby, a fire burns, not large, just enough. Enough for warmth, for cooking, for light when the darkness comes. The fire is not only heat, it is comfort, it is safety, it is memory. As the hunters move through the plains or forest, they speak rarely. Communication is in the eyes, in hand signals, in instinct. They follow trails, they pause, they listen to the wind. Every footstep is measured. Then, suddenly a moment, a rustle, a flicker of movement in the tall grass. There it is, a deer, or maybe a wild boar. The hunt begins, but is not like in the movies. There is no loud shouting, no wild sprinting, only silence, precision, patience. The throw of the spear is not reckless, it is calculated, and if it misses, there is no anger, only understanding. The animal lives another day. The hunter learns another lesson. Back at the camp, time continues at its own pace. There is food to prepare, berries to mash, roots to boil, meat to dry over smoky fires. Children help in small ways, fetching water, listening to stories told in low, rhythmic voices. The stories, oh the stories. They may not have words as we know them, but they have meaning. A gesture, a sound, a repeated pattern of motion, a mimicry of the hunt, a reenactment of a thunderstorm, a tale of a giant bird that stole the moon. And as the sun climbs higher, the day unfolds like a slow song. There is no boredom as we know it being. Only doing, one thing at a time, care, with presence. A sharp stone is carved into a tool. A piece of wood becomes a handle. A feather is tucked into a child's hair. The sounds of the day are soft, a crackling fire, the crunch of leaves, the distant howl of something unknown reminding them that they are not alone. Occasionally, two individuals may sit in silence. They do not speak, but they are together. Perhaps they share food, or simply warm. Connection is not always spoken, it is felt. By midday, some may rest. Others prepare to move. The tribe is nomadic. They do not stay in one place forever. They follow the animals, the seasons, the water. But moving is not a burden. It is life. Everything they own can be carried. There are no walls, no fences, no locks. The world is open and dangerous and beautiful. In the quiet center of this ancient life is something we often forget: stillness. There is no endless stimulation, no glowing screens, no traffic jams, no deadlines, just breath, fire, sleep. As the sun slowly begins its descent, the long shadows stretch across the land. The hunters return, perhaps successful, perhaps not. The children run to greet them. There are no cheers, just nods, a glance, an understanding. Night is coming again, and with it another fire, another meal, another night of warmth beneath the stars. You may think this life was harsh, and in many ways it was, but it was also full of connection, of rhythm, of purpose. And now, as you lie in your bed, hearing these quiet thoughts, you too can slow your breath. Let go of the day. Let go of the noise. Let your mind drift to the ancient woods, the soft dirt underfoot, the warmth of the fire on your face. And rest knowing that for tens of thousands of years, this is how we began. This is what we once called life. The day begins to settle. The golden light of the afternoon stretches gently across the earth. Shadows grow longer, and the wind picks up slightly, rustling through the leaves like an old lullaby. Our ancient family begins to gather again. The hunters have returned. The gatherers have shared their findings. The fire is lit once more, not just for cooking, but for comfort, for stories, for silence. They do not speak in paragraphs, but in glances, in small sounds, in movements repeated across generations. Someone begins to carve something into a piece of wood, not for a purpose, not for hunting, but simply because the motion feels right. The mind drifts. The hands move, a spiral forms, or a circle, or a line with no end. It might be memory, it might be nothing at all. Beside the fire, a child has a scratch on their leg. One of the older women notices. She moves slowly, calmly. She chews a bit of root, its taste bitter, its power known, and gently presses it to the wound. She hums softly, not a song, but a rhythm, a calming rhythm. This is healing before hospitals, before pills, before knowledge became written. They know which plants ease pain, which leaves reduce swelling, which tree saps fight infection. And they pass this down not through instruction but through doing. A hand guides a hand, a gesture repeated, a hum that says, "This is how we care." In the tribe, everyone matters, not because of what they earn, but simply because they exist. The elder is not pushed aside. They are respected not out of obligation, but because they remember. They remember the river that once dried too early. They remember the winter that came too soon. They remember the time the stars moved strangely in the sky, and the wolves howled all night. Their words might not always be understood, but their presence speaks of time, of survival, of living. The young are not told to be quiet. Their curiosity is not scalded. They are allowed to explore, to fall, to try, to learn by touching, by watching, by feeling. No one is busy. No one is late. There is only now. And in the now they are together. As night approaches, the fire grows brighter. Its light dances across the stone walls, across the faces of those seated near it. Someone may pick up a stick and draw in the dirt. A bison, a handprint, a path leading to a mountain. No one asks, what does it mean? Because everyone already feels it. These people, the so-called cavemen, were not mindless brutes. They were thinkers, observers, feelers. They watched the moon wax and wane. They saw the stars return in patterns. They noticed the sun's angle changing with the seasons. And slowly, ever so slowly, beliefs began to form. The thunder was not just noise, it was a spirit's voice. The moon's light on the river was not random, it was a sign. The death of a loved one was not the end, but a passage. Perhaps they began to bury their dead with objects. A stone, a necklace made of bone. Why? Maybe to honor them, maybe to guide them, or maybe simply because it felt right. In the silence of the forest, in the crackle of the fire, in the endless canopy of stars above, questions were asked. Not with words, but with wonder. Where did we come from? Why do the animals return? Why does the sky weep? Why do we feel love and sorrow and something in between? And so, the first myths were born not as lies, but as bridges, as ways to understand a world too large to grasp. A rock may hold a spirit. A tree may whisper wisdom. The wind may carry the thoughts of ancestors. As the night deepens, the tribe begins to quiet. The children nestle against warm bodies. The fire crackles less and less. A soft breeze blows through the camp. One person watches the stars, not counting them, just watching. Perhaps they wonder if someone or something is watching back. In this world, there is no distraction, no news, no noise, only breath, sky, and in that deep, ancient silence there is peace. No ambition, no shame, no future or past, just being a part of the world, not apart from it. A fox cries in the distance. A soft rhythm begins when through trees. Breath in sleep, embers shifting softly. A lullaby made not of words, but of time itself. And as their eyes close it as begin to stir, there are no names, no labels, only the slow, endless turning of the world beneath them. And in that rhythm, you too can rest. Let the ancient calm carry you. Let the questions fade. Let the fire warm you. Sleep as they once did. Together. Safe still. The wind has changed. It blows colder now. Sharper. As if carrying whispers from a distant world. one where the land is covered not with green but with white. A new season approaches, not just winter but something deeper, something longer, the Ice Age. Our ancestors feel it before they understand it. The rivers freeze sooner. The sun lingers lower in the sky. The animals, those great, shaggy beasts, begin to move differently. They wander farther, stay away longer. The herds grow thinner. The trees become brittle. The nights become longer. The cold arrives like a slow breath, settling into the bones of the land. The people, they always do. Furs become thicker. Fires are made more often. The shelters are reinforced with whatever can be found: branches, skins, stones stacked tightly to block the wind. And still the cold seeps in. It humbles, slows them. But it does not stop them. They move when they must, carrying everything. Children bundled in soft hides, tools wrapped in leather, food preserved in dried strips tied with plant fibers, carried across frozen ground. They walk for days, sometimes weeks, searching for warmth, for game, for safety. But they are not alone, they walk together. In this world, the individual means little. It is the group that survives. One builds, one scouts, one watches the fire. Another tells stories even in the cold to keep spirits from freezing. There is no pride in doing it alone, only danger. Even the smallest task, a spark, a scrape, a softened word can mean the difference between surviving the night or not. And so, they become one body, one breath. Each step forward is taken as many. There are dangers beyond the cold, a creaking noise beneath their feet, thin ice, cracks forming like lightning through a frozen pond. A single misstep and the water claims them. Silent, unforgiving, they learn to listen, to wait, to read the world not just with their eyes, but with their skin. And in this listening they begin to understand something sacred. The earth is alive. The cold is not punishment, it is nature's rhythm. And to live in rhythm is to live it all. At night they huddle together, not out of fear, but because warmth is something to be shared. The fire burns low with smoke curling like a ghost into the dark air. A mother hums softly to her child, a low sound, barely a note, but it is enough. It tells the child you are safe. An elder tells of days before the ice, of warmer winds, of times when food was easier to find. The children listen, wide-eyed. They cannot imagine such warmth, but the words are enough. They paint a fire in the mind. Sometimes they speak of monsters, not the kind with claws and teeth, but the cold, the endless white, the hunger that grows when food is scarce. They give it a name, perhaps a spirit, perhaps a warning, and in doing so, they make it something they can face. Because to name a fear is to take away some of its power. In the morning, the tribe moves again, across frost-covered fields, past trees encased in ice, over rocks made slippery by the breath of winter. A mammoth passes in the distance, its shadow huge, its steps slow. It does not see them, or perhaps it does, and simply does not care. It is a symbol of what they seek: strength, endurance, is survival. They follow its tracks, not in haste, but in hope. Hope is the quiet heartbeat of their world. It does not shout. It does not demand. It is a flicker, a warmth inside the chest, a whisper: keep going. And so they do, step by step, fire by fire, night by night together. The world is wide. Vast valleys stretch for miles. Forests thicken with silence. Rivers wind like long, sleeping snakes. And across this ancient land there are others. Other fires, other footsteps, other eyes watching from the trees. For a long time, our ancestors believed they were alone, that their small band was the only group to walk the earth, the only ones to speak in gesture, to laugh, to fear the stars. But then one day a sound, a rustle that was not wind, a footprint too fresh, a face in the distance, not familiar, strangers, and with that something awakens, a deep, quiet awareness. The world is not only vast, it is shared. The first encounter is not loud. There is no charge, no sudden violence, just stillness. Two groups staring across the grass, each uncertain, each breath slow. One raises a hand, the other mirrors the gesture, and a decision begins to form, not with words, but with posture, with patience, with presence. Do we run? Do we fight? Or do we watch? Early humans were not always violent. Conflict was dangerous, risky. Tools could kill, yes, but wounds did not always heal. And so, the wiser choice of often was distance. Yet, curiosity is a powerful thing. The two groups begin to mirror each other, a slow dance across empty land. One places a bundle on the ground, a piece of meat, perhaps, or a stone tool, and steps back, The other approaches slowly, deliberately, and does the same. An exchange, a beginning. It is not peace and not yet, but it is not war either. In this silence, the first ideas of territory take root. We are here. You are there. Let us agree without words to stay in our places. But the land does not obey boundaries. Herds move where they wish. Rivers do not care for lines in the soil, and sometimes paths cross again. Not every encounter is calm. There are moments when the fire in the chest rises, when eyes narrow, when tools are gripped too tightly, when fear becomes anger. And sometimes it happens. A thrown rock, a shouted sound, a clash not of nations, not of armies, but of small groups with everything to lose. A broken nose, a pierced leg, and silence after. The survivors limp away. The fallen are mourned or left. The sight is remembered, avoided, or perhaps whispered about at future fires. But even in this, something grows. Memory, a knowledge that others exist, that the world is not only filled with trees and animals, but with people. Different, yet not so different. Some encounters end in conflict, but others in cooperation. Perhaps one group knows where the best roots grow. Another has a better stone for tools. Perhaps they share. Perhaps a child from one group becomes part of another. Perhaps two groups gather for a night and dance beneath the same moon. It is here, in these fragile beginnings, that culture starts to stretch beyond the single tribe. New songs are heard, new gestures exchanged, new stories told. They mimic each other, they learn, and over time the idea of us expands. Not just our fire, but many fires. Not just our food, but a shared hunt. Still, trust is delicate, always earned slowly, always easily lost. They keep watch at night, even among allies. They sleep lightly, because they know the world is beautiful, but not always kind. And through it all, the fire remains. The fire is where strangers become something else, where fear softens into understanding. Its light dances on faces new and familiar. It bridges the gap between groups, between thoughts, between hearts. And you, listening now, can imagine that fire. Close your eyes, picture it, feel its warmth, the sounds of breathing all around you. Not just your family, but others. Together, not in perfect harmony, but in shared existence. Let that image rest in your thoughts as you drift, as the night deepens, as the stars watch silently overhead, as history begins, one quiet meeting at a time. The cave is silent, but it speaks, not in words, not in voice, but in color, in shape, in shadow. A handprint, pressed fingers spread, still visible after thousands of years. It says, I was here. I touched this wall. I lived. Our Paleolithic ancestors, though without writing, were not without expression. Deep within the earth, in the hidden chambers of caves, they began to paint, not for decoration, not to pass the time, but because something inside them needed to be seen. The deer hunt, the sun, the spiral, the hand. They crushed minerals into powder, charcoal, iron oxide, manganese, mixed them with animal fat, spit, or water, and with fingers, reeds, or hollowed bones they painted, stroke by stroke, motion by motion. Each shape slow, deliberately sacred. There was no rush, no audience, only the flicker of firelight on stone, and the quiet desire to leave behind something more than footprints. Outside, the group moves with its daily rhythm. But deep in the cave, another rhythm stirs. Someone is dancing, not for others, but for the earth, for the wind, for something unseen. They stomp softly, they spin, they sway in circles. Dust rises around their feet. A quiet drumbeat begins, perhaps a stick on hollow wood, or the simple clapping of hands. The body becomes story, the motion becomes meaning. There are no costumes, no stage, only the open sky or the shelter of stone. Children watch, wide-eyed, then join in with crooked smiles and wobbly steps. It is not performance, it is presence, expression without words. The dance may mimic the hunt, or the rain, or the stars. It may honor the birth of a child, or the memory of someone lost. This is the beginning of ritual, a shared act, repeated, remembered, done not because it is practical, but because it feels necessary. Perhaps one day a man dreams of a great bird. He tells the others, they listen. He draws its shape in the dirt, then in paint, then dances its motion, and the bird becomes a symbol. It returns again and again, passed down, remembered, believed. It becomes sacred, and thus the first gods are born, not as thunderous beings in the sky, but as animals, as rivers, as fire, as the unknown. And the tribe begins to tell stories not just of things that happened, but of things that might be true. Why does the sun rise? Why does the child laugh before they speak? Why does the old woman still dream? The answers come not in fact, but in form. A shape, a sound dance, a carving on bone, a painted circle within a circle. Some of these marks survive to this day. We call them symbols. But to those who made them, they were something more. They were bridges, between the seen and unseen, between now and always. As night falls, the group gathers once again around the fire, not to plan, not to discuss, but to share silence, and maybe a tale. A man picks up a stick, draws a line in the dirt, then a spiral, then a set of dots. No one asks, what does it mean? Because it doesn't need to mean just one thing. It feels true, and that is enough. Expression is not always to explain. Sometimes it is simply to exist, and so, the first songs begin soft hums, repeated patterns, sounds that carry across valleys and through caves, lullabies for children, rhythms for walking, chants for birth, for nothing, or for everything. As you lie here now listening, you too are part of that same human rhythm. The need to express, to feel, to dream, to mark your place even if only in thought. Let your mind drift to that ancient cave. See the red handprints. Feel the stone beneath your fingers. Imagine the slow motion of bodies turning in firelight. And let yourself be quiet, still, safe. There is no need to understand everything, only to feel it, only to rest in it, to close your eyes and dance inward. Far above the trees, the stars begin to gather. One by one, they appear in the darkening sky. Tiny lights scattered across a vast black canvas, silent, still, watching. The tribe watches back. They do not know their names. They do not chart their positions, but they feel them. The stars return each night and vanish each morning, like breath, like thought, like memory. And over time, the people notice. This one always rises before the cold season. That one follows the path of the great river, and the moon waxes and wanes like a tide inside the sky. They do not count days, but they feel them. They feel the changing winds. They feel the long, slow tilt of the sun. They see the leaves fall, the animals grow fat, the rivers slow. Without calendars, they still understand time, not in numbers, but in rhythm, a rhythm that pulses all around them. And so they begin to mimic that rhythm, in sound, in music. It starts simply, a stick tapped against a hollow log, a stone struck gently against another, a reed blown softly, making a long, breathy note. A rhythm forms, tap, tap, pause, tap, tap, pause. Others join in, one with a shell, one with bone, one with nothing but hands clapping slowly. It is not music as we know it. It is older, more primal, a heartbeat echoed outside the body. The group moves with the rhythm, heads nodding, shoulders swaying. The fire crackles in time, the children giggle, the elders smile, and the song continues, even in silence. Music becomes memory. It is carried not in instruments, but in bodies, not written down, only remembered. Passed through repetition, through presence. Perhaps one rhythm is for the hunt, another for raining, another for birth. Without knowing it, they are creating the first ceremonies. And through these ceremonies, they make sense of time. Not just sun and shadow, but meaning. They begin to notice that certain stars return when certain berries ripen. That the full moon means the herds are near. That when the frogs sing loudly at night, the rains are coming. They don't measure time in weeks or months, but in patterns. And these patterns shape their lives. When to move, when to stay, when to prepare, when to sing, and always the music returns, around the fire, in the caves, beside the river. Even in solitude, one may hum, a simple tone, a breath through pursed lips, a sound that soothes the fear that names the moment. It is not performance, it is presence. Music is not separate from life. It is life. It wraps around thought. It softens pain. It marks the day and welcomes the night. And as the stars drift above, glowing silently in the eternal sky, the tribe rests beneath them. Not afraid of the dark, but comforted by it, because they have rhythm, and rhythm means they belong. Each beat connects them to something larger, to the seasons, to the past, to one another, and now to you. As you listen, you too are part of that rhythm. Each breath a note, each thought a drum, each heartbeat a reminder you are still here, still connected, still part of the music that has no beginning and no end. Close your eyes. Let the stars dance behind your eyelids. Let the night wrap around you like a warm, ancient song, and rest. The music of the earth continues even in dreams. The fire burns low, its glow no longer dancing but breathing, steady, ancient, and around that fire life continues slowly, gently, without urgency. Somewhere, a child is born. There are no hospitals, no machines, no charts or monitors. Warmly hands, experienced hands. A mother breathes deeply, slowly. The pain is old, familiar, passed down through countless generations. The others sit nearby. Some sing, some hum. Some simply watch with eyes soft and steady. The child arrives with a cry and then silence. And then another sound, a small voice, a new breath, fragile yet strong. The tribe exhales as one. There is no ceremony, and yet everything is sacred. The child is washed in river water, wrapped in softened hide, held against warm skin, a new life. Not claimed, just welcomed. They do not ask who the child will become. There are no expectations, only presence. A few days pass, a few moons. The child opens their eyes more often, grasps fingers, smiles perhaps, or stares upward at the stars, same stars their ancestors once wondered at. As the seasons turn, the child grows, not quickly, not with schedules, but with rhythm, crawling, walking. Speaking not in language, but in sound, in mimicry, in song. They learn by watching, how to gather, how to listen, how to kneel beside the river and drink. There is no classroom. The world is the teacher, and the lessons are slow and quiet. They learn the meaning of wind, the taste of berries, the scent of fire before it catches, the shape of fear and the touch of comfort. Time moves gently. The child becomes a youth. Strong legs, quick hands, curious eyes. They are given more to do. Fetch water, shape stones. Carry wood, they stumble. They try again. There is no shame, only learning. The elders do not shout. They gesture. They hum a rhythm. They repeat the action. And slowly the youth remembers. They become the hunter, the gatherer, the singer, the carver, and in time the teacher. Years pass, not counted in numbers, but in winters, in hunts, in children born, in scars healed. The strong grow slower, their hair grays, their backs bend, but still they move, still they tell stories, still they sit by the fire humming the old melodies. And then, one day someone does not rise, not in panic, not in surprise, but in peace. Death is not feared here, it is not an enemy, it is not a thief, it is a part of the rhythm, a pause in the song. The tribe gathers, they do not weep loudly, they do not hide their grief. They place a hand on the chest, they hum, they remember. Perhaps the body is buried, or returned to the river, or laid to rest in a shallow cave, surrounded by familiar things. A tool, a feather, a small carved animal. Not for use, but for meaning, for memory, for connection. The children watch. They do not turn away, they are not shielded. Because death is not the end, it is the return. Back to the earth, back to the wind, back to the fire. And the cycle continues. Another child is born. Another elder sits a little longer by the fire. The rhythm does not break. It expands, it softens, it deepens. You listening now are part of that rhythm. You, too, are born, you grow, you remember. You rest, and one day you return, not in fear, but in stillness, just like them. Close your eyes, breathe deeply. You are not alone in the rhythm. Safe, warm, timeless. The night is quiet but not empty. The fire crackles gently, the stars shine. The wind moves between the trees like an old, wandering thought. And in the spaces between breath and silences, something else is felt, not seen, not heard, but felt. The Paleolithic people knew this feeling well. The sense that the world held more than trees and rivers and animals. That in the rustling leaves, in the whisper of the flame of something unseen, always nearby. They did not call them gods. Not yet, but they knew there were presences. They felt them in the caves, where the light faded into total darkness. They felt them in the stillness of fog, in the sudden cry of an owl at midnight, in dreams that left behind strange emotions. They gave these forces names, not names as we know them spelled or spoken, but sounds, shapes, gestures. They mimicked the howl of the wolf, the hiss of the snake, the crack of thunder. And in doing so, they gave the invisible world a form. Perhaps the spirit of a bison guided the hunt. Perhaps the river had moods. Perhaps the wind carried the laughter of those who had died. The dead were not gone, not entirely. Their bodies rested beneath earth, stone, or water, but their presence lingered. Sometimes someone would feel it, a warmth by the fire where no one sat, a voice heard faintly in the trees, a sudden memory uncalled for but vivid, and in those moments the tribe would pause, not in fear, but in reverence. They would place a hand on their chest, or on the earth, and hum, a low, steady tone, a connection. a remembering. Over time, these moments became stories. A boy who was visited by a bear in a dream and never feared again. A woman who saw her sister's eyes reflected in the water, long after she had passed. A child who laughed in their sleep and was said to be speaking with the stars. And so the spirit world began to form, not in temples, not in books, but in the breath of the forest, in the patterns of flame, in the shape of a bird flying low at dusk. These signs were not questioned. They were noticed, felt, and sometimes carved, on bone, on wood, on cave walls, totemic figures, half animal, half human, a bear with hands, a man with wings, a woman with deer antlers. These were not fantasies. They were truth seen with the inward eye, symbols of the connection between this world and the next. Each person may have carried a token, a feather, a painted stone, not for decoration, but for protection, for identity, for story. These became the first totems, personal, ancestral, spiritual, and they were passed down from hand to hand over time, not because they held magic, but because they held memory and meaning. The fire flickers. A shadow moves across the cave wall. No one speaks, but everyone knows something is near. Not dangerous, not cruel, just present. Perhaps an ancestor, perhaps a dream given shape, perhaps the spirit of the forest itself. The people sit in stillness. A child hums, an elder closes their eyes, and the moment passes like wind over tall grass. Still it lingers, a feeling, a knowing, that there is more to this world than breath and bone. That something watches, and cares, and waits, and in this quiet knowing there is peace. You, too, may feel it now, as your thoughts grow soft, as your body becomes light, as the world around you fades into shadow. You are not alone. You are part of the story. The silence. Let yourself drift. Let the invisible world embrace you. You are remembered. You are safe. You are home. The world stretches endlessly before them, forest melting into vast plains, mountains rising and disappearing behind misty clouds, rivers twisting like silver threads over the ancient earth. Beneath it all, feet move quietly and surely, one after another, slowly, steadily, walking not toward a destination but away from stillness. Our Paleolithic ancestors were wanderers, moving with instinct rather than maps, guided by weather, hunger, curiosity, and a deep sense of belonging to the earth. When a river ran low or the herds they followed vanished into the horizon, they packed what little they owned: stones, fibers, fire starters, bone tools, and set out again. Not in haste, nor panic, but as part of an ancient rhythm. Each step was a quiet promise that there is something ahead, something waiting. They did not claim land. There were no lines drawn on the earth, no fences marking territory. The land was not to be conquered or owned, but respected, listened to, and honored. They moved with the animals, walking alongside migrations, sleeping beneath stars, drinking from fresh rivers, learning the stories held by new trees and stones. They sought not more, but enough. Enough food to nourish, enough warmth to survive, enough space to rest and dream. Across generations, they crossed vast distances over land bridges connecting continents, through cold tundras and scorching deserts, past glaciers and marshes, scaling jagged cliffs with bare, sure feet. They moved because the world called them forward, because curiosity and survival intertwined, because the horizon promised new stories. Their journey was measured not in miles or hours, but in moons, seasons, and the shifting patterns of unfamiliar stars. A child born beside one river might grow up by another, carrying the old stories while learning new ones. Sometimes they met others, flickering fires seen in the distance, approaches cautious, gestures tentative, peace offered or not. Sometimes they lingered, other times they moved on. A few stones added to a shelter, a tree marked gently to guide those who came after. But mostly, they left no trace, no grand monuments, no lasting scars, only footprints vanishing with the wind. Their memory lived on in stories whispered between generations, in songs echoing across mountains, in shared knowledge of plants and stars. Some stayed, planting roots deep. Others moved, carried by the breeze like seeds scattered across the earth. Each group a thread woven into the vast human tapestry, spreading across continents, touching oceans, crossing snow and sand. Through it all, the quiet song remained, keep going. There is more. You belong to the earth, and the earth belongs to no one. At night, they rested beneath unfamiliar skies, yet felt at home, because home was not a place, but the fire shared, the faces nearby, the rhythm of walking and breathing. They were travelers, wanderers, keepers of stories and stewards of the land. And so they continued over lands now buried beneath cities and deserts swallowed by sand, over hills forgotten by time. But their paths endure, not carved in stone, not marked by signs, but in the curve of a riverbank, the shape of an old tree, the memory carried by the wind. You may not see their footsteps, but the world remembers. And so do you. Close your eyes. Imagine soft, unhurried footsteps filled with wonder and quiet strength. Feel the pull of the horizon, the comfort of movement without urgency. You, too, are walking. Inward, toward stillness, toward sleep. Let the journey carry you gently, quietly home. The forest breathes gently, its quiet rhythm pulsing through every leaf, every branch, every creature that calls it home. Long before cities and machines, before roads and walls, our ancestors lived not above nature, nor separate from it, but deep within its embrace. They moved as part of the forest's heartbeat. Every step taken was a conversation with the earth beneath their feet, a silent acknowledgement of the life surrounding them. The animals were not merely prey or tools, but sacred companions akin on this vast journey. The woolly mammoth, towering and majestic, was far more than just a source of food. It was a symbol of endurance, strength, and wisdom. To see its massive shadow cast against the snow was to feel the power of the wild itself. It was a presence to honor, to respect, and to thank. Around the flickering firelight, someone carefully carved the shape of a mammoth into a piece of bone, not for decoration or mere artistry, but as a tribute, a way to connect, to remember, to honor the spirit of the animal that gave so much to the tribe. The hunt was never taken lightly. It was not a simple act of taking. It was a sacred exchange, a life for life. To kill without reverence was unthinkable, a violation of the natural balance. The tribe sang songs of gratitude, their voices soft and steady, while their hands gently touched the earth in solemn respect. They learned to listen to the soft rustle of leaves, the patterns of the wind, the subtle shifts in animal tracks. Each sound and sign carried meaning. Each animal carried a story. The bear was courage, the eagle vision, the wolf loyalty. These creatures were more than flesh and bone. They were living symbols, totems that connected individuals to something greater than themselves. Many carried tokens, feathers, claws, carved bones not as ornaments, but as reminders of their place in the web of life. These totems were talismans of protection and identity, passed down through generations like sacred heirlooms. The tribe moved in harmony with the seasons, following migrations, blooming plants, and the sun's slow journey across the sky. This was not survival through dominance, but thriving through balance, a partnership with the earth itself. They understood deeply that to live with nature was to live well. To live against it was to invite hardship. And so, the tribe thrived not by conquest but by respect, by empathy, by connection. You, listening now, are part of that great web, a thread woven into the tapestry of life. Bound to the earth beneath you, the animals around you, the stars above you. Close your eyes. Feel the heartbeat of the forest in your own chest, the pulse of the river in your veins, the breath of the wind whispering through your soul. Let yourself be still. Let yourself be held. Let the quiet strength of nature cradle you as you drift softly into rest. And as you sleep, know you walk beside them together forever. The hands move carefully, steady and patient. Each motion slow, deliberate, with a quiet confidence born of countless repetitions. A sharp stone is selected, its surface rough but promising. With gentle strikes, edges are chipped away, small flakes falling softly like dust on the ground. A blade begins to take shape, a spear point, a scraper, a tool, not merely for survival, but for living. Our ancestors were the first craftsmen, inventors, and problem solvers who shaped the world around them with patience and care. Each day brought a new challenge, a thicker hide to scrape, a sturdier branch to shape into a handle, a tougher bone to carve into a tool. They learned to work with stone, bone, and wood, transforming the raw elements of the earth into extensions of their bodies, tools that bridged the gap between need and possibility. These tools were simple, yet they changed everything. A sharp edge made cutting easier, slicing through flesh and plant alike. A spear extended reach, allowing a hunter to keep distance while still catching prey. A scraper softened hides, preparing materials to keep the tribe warm through cold seasons. Every tool carried a story, the maker's touch, the careful strike that chipped the stone, the lessons passed from hand to hand, from parent to child, from one generation to the next. Sometimes tools were made quickly, born of urgent necessity. Other times they were crafted with care, slowly and ritually, the making itself a sacred act. The sound of flint striking flint echoed softly in the quiet air, like a secret song. Dust from stone fell gently, settling like snow. Hands moved rhythmically, a dance of creation that connected the maker to the earth, the material, and the future. This was early technology, not machines or metal, but understanding, ingenuity, and adaptation. Through these humble tools, the tribe transformed their daily life. Hunting became more effective, allowing them to follow herds and capture food with greater skill. Gathering became more efficient, with tools to cut and collect roots, berries, and plants. Shelters grew sturdier, shaped from wood and stone with precision. Clothing grew warmer as hides were carefully prepared and stitched. Cooking evolved as well, made safer and more varied with the help of sharpened tools to prepare food. The tribe moved with purpose, carrying not just tools, but knowledge earned slowly by watching, trying, failing, and succeeding. This wisdom was carried in the hands and minds of the people, passed down through stories and demonstrations, through quiet patience and shared experience. By the firelight, elders might teach the young how to strike stone against stone just so, coaxing sparks into flame. Around the fire, stories mingled with the crackling embers, tales of great hunts, lessons learned, and the secrets of the earth. Every tool made, every skill learned, was a thread in the great tapestry of survival and growth. You, listening now, hold a part of that legacy in your own hands. The gift of invention, the spark of creativity, the quiet power to shape the world with patience and care. Feel your hands resting softly. Let your thoughts slow and steady, like the maker's deliberate strikes. Feel the pulse of creation flowing through you. The future was crafted one patient strike at a time. Each chip, each shaped edge, each carefully held tool was a promise that life could be better, safer, warmer. That the human mind could find answers in stone and bone. That survival was not only a matter of strength, but of wisdom. The past lives in your fingertips. The touch of those ancient craftsmen is still with you now, gentle, steady, wise. And as you rest, know that this lineage continues, carried forward by every slow breath, every soft thought, every quiet moment of care. Let yourself sink deeper into that peaceful connection. Let the rhythm of patient making soothe you. The world has been shaped by hands like yours since the dawn of time. And now, you rest in the quiet power of creation. The night is deep and still. Darkness folds around the earth like a soft blanket. But there is light, a small glow flickering gently in the darkness. The fire. Long ago, our ancestors discovered fire, not as a force to be feared, but as a friend to be tended with care and respect. At first, fire came from nature itself, lightning striking dry grass, a burning branch left behind after a storm. The first humans saw this gift and learned to carry it, protecting it as carefully as a newborn child. They fed the flame with dry wood and leaves. They shielded it from the wind and rain. They nurtured it, knowing that this fragile light held the power to change their lives. Fire was more than warmth. It was safety. It chased away the darkness, the unknown. It softened the harsh cold of night, wrapping the tribe in its gentle embrace. With fire, food changed. Raw flesh, once dangerous, became nourishing and easy to digest. The fire's heat unlocked flavors and sustenance hidden deep inside the meat and roots. Around the glowing embers, the tribe gathered. Faces illuminated by flickering light, eyes shining with reflection and connection. Stories were told, passed from one voice to another like precious gifts. Songs rose softly in the air, rhythms that bound the group closer. Hands warmed by the gentle firelight found courage and calm. The fire became the heart of their shared life, a living presence that marked the rhythm of day and night, hunger and fullness, fear and safety. The art of making fire was learned through patient trial and error. The friction of wood rubbed between hands, the striking of stones creating sparks, the slow, careful tending of fragile flames. It was a slow dance between earth and sky, human and nature. The fire was never taken for granted. It was respected like a living thing, fed only what it needed, protected from harm. Its smoke carried whispers and prayers to the sky, weaving the tribe's hopes and fears with the wind. Around the fire, conversations flowed, plans for the hunt, lessons for the young, memories shared by the elders. The fire reflected not only faces but souls. When the fire flickered low, a hush would fall over the group, everyone waiting. Breath held until the sparks rose again and the flame bloomed bright once more. Fire taught patience, care, and respect. It was a sacred element, a companion that accompanied humans through cold nights and dark times. As you listen now, imagine the fire's gentle glow warming your skin. Hear the soft crackle of wood as it burns slowly. Smell the faint, comforting scent of smoke drifting in the cool night air. Let the fire's warmth soothe your thoughts and cradle your mind. Feel yourself safe and calm, wrapped in the eternal dance of flame and shadow. The fire burns on, timeless and steady. A beacon through the night, a symbol of life's quiet persistence. Rest now in its glow, safe, warm, at peace. The dawn stretches slowly across the horizon, painting the sky with shades of pink and gold. The world awakens gently, as do the ancient rhythms of life. Our ancestors rise quietly, moving with the light, attuned to the whisper of the wind and the subtle signs of the earth. For them, every day was a delicate balance of seeking and waiting, watching and moving. Survival was an art one woven from the threads of patience, skill, and deep respect for the world around them. They were gatherers and hunters, knowing the land as intimately as their own bodies. Gathering was not merely picking fruits or roots. It was a sacred act of reading the earth, understanding its moods and gifts. They observed the seasons, the growth cycles of plants, the places where berries ripened and roots hid beneath soft soil. The tribe would move softly through the forest, eyes sharp for subtle signs. A trampled patch of grass, a broken twig, the scent of ripe fruit carried on the breeze. Each discovery was a quiet triumph, a small blessing. Gathering fed the body and nurtured the soul. Wild greens, nuts, berries, and roots were collected with care, their uses known through generations of learning. Some plants healed wounds or eased pain, others provided energy or calm. They took only what was needed, never greedily. The earth was a giver, but also a keeper of balance. Respect for this balance was woven into every step, every harvest. Hunting, on the other hand, was a different kind of dance. It required skill, patience, and courage. The tribe moved as one, silent and steady, tracking the movements of animals with keen eyes and quiet feet. They understood the habits of the herds, the rhythms of migration, the signs animals left behind. Footprints in the mud, broken branches, distant calls, these were the whispers that guided the hunters. The spear, carefully crafted and balanced, was a trusted companion. The arrow, tipped with stone sharp as a whisper, flew true. The hunt was never taken lightly. It was not a reckless chase, but a sacred exchange, life given for life. Before the hunt, the tribe gathered around the fire. Elders shared stories and songs, invoking protection and success. The air was thick with anticipation and respect. Each hunter carried not only tools, but also a deep sense of connection to the animal, the land, and the tribe. When the moment came, the hunt unfolded in silence and grace. The chase was measured, the kill precise. Every part of the animal was honored and used for food, tools, clothing, and shelter. The tribe understood the importance of gratitude. Songs of thanks echoed softly through the trees. The spirit of the animal was believed to live on, guiding future hunts and protecting the tribe. Together, gathering and hunting sustained life, weaving a delicate harmony between humans and nature. Each day was a lesson in balance, patience, and reverence. As you listen now, imagine yourself walking softly through ancient forests, feeling the cool earth beneath your feet. Picture the gentle gathering of wild berries, the quiet tracking of an animal's trail. Feel the rhythm of the hunt, steady, respectful, purposeful. Hear the whispers of the wind carrying stories from generations past. Let these images and sounds lull you into calmness. Let the ancient dance of gathering and hunting soothe your mind and body. Breathe deeply. Rest in the knowledge that you are part of this great cycle, that the earth's gifts are shared with care, and life flows in quiet harmony. You are safe, you are connected, you are home. The sun dips slowly below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of deep amber and soft lavender. The day winds down as shadows stretch long and gentle across the vast landscape. This is the time when the tribe's focus turns inward, toward the warmth and safety of their shelters, the spaces they create from earth, stone, wood, and animal hides. These humble homes are more than mere protection. They are sacred sanctuaries where body and spirit find rest and renewal. In the sprawling wilderness of the Paleolithic era, shelter was essential yet deeply intertwined with respect for nature. Natural caves, when available, offered ready refuge from wind, rain, and predators. These caves were often much more than physical spaces. Their walls served as canvases for the earliest known art, adorned with paintings of animals, hunting scenes, and symbolic marks that told stories across generations. In the flickering firelight, these images came alive, connecting the tribe to ancestors long gone and mysteries yet to be understood. Where caves were absent, ingenuity sparked the creation of shelters fashioned from the materials the earth generously offered. Young saplings, flexible and strong, were bent carefully and tied with woven fibers into frames sturdy enough to withstand wind and weather. These skeletal structures were then draped with animal hides, stretched taut and sewn with sinew to form walls that kept out cold and rain. The smell of fresh bark mingled with the earthy scent of hides, creating a comforting cocoon for the tribe within. Building these shelters was a communal endeavor, a ritual woven with care and cooperation. Quiet voices offered gentle instructions, hands worked in harmony, selecting the strongest branches, weaving binding fibers, and positioning heavy stones to anchor the structure firmly to the ground. Each motion was deliberate, each task carried out with reverence for both the materials and the shared purpose. In creating shelter, the tribe created a home, a space where warmth, stories, and safety converged. The shelter was not merely a physical barrier but the heart of the camp, a sanctuary where people gathered to share food, stories, and dreams. Inside, the fire crackled softly, its light casting warm shadows that danced on wood and hide walls. The air was thick with the comforting aroma of burning wood, mingling with the earthy scent of soil and fur. Outside, the wilderness continued its nocturnal song, rustling leaves, distant howls, the whisper of wind. Yet inside, the tribe felt cocooned in calm. Every detail within the shelter spoke of careful thought and deep understanding. Tools were placed within easy reach: flint knives, spear points, scrapers ready for use at a moment's notice. Food was stored with care, protected from scavengers and decay. Personal tokens, feathers, carved bones, woven beads were kept close, each imbued with meaning and memory, serving as talismans of identity and protection. Safety permeated every aspect of life. The tribe remained ever vigilant, reading subtle signs in their surroundings. Tracks in mud might reveal the approach of predators. Sudden silences in the forest could signal danger. Changes in the wind's direction were noted, and animal behaviors observed for warnings. Through this keen awareness, the tribe balanced peace with preparedness. Children were nestled snugly within furs, their breaths soft and even as they slept close to their parents. Elders rested nearby, their eyes reflecting the fire's glow, their presence a source of comfort and wisdom. The shelter was a place of healing, not just for wounds of the body, but for fears and uncertainties of the mind and spirit. As night deepened, voices softened to gentle whispers. Stories filled the space, carrying lessons and memories, binding the tribe together with shared histories and hopes. These tales, told with warmth and reverence, were a thread weaving past and future into the fabric of the present moment. Now, as you listen, imagine yourself within this shelter. Feel the textures, the rough bark, the soft furs, the cool stone beneath your fingers. Hear the gentle crackling of the fire and the low murmur of voices blending with the distant night sounds. Let the steady rhythm of shelter and safety soothe your mind, relaxing every muscle, calming every thought. Breathe deeply. Feel the earth's solid heartbeat beneath you. Know that you are held in this place of warmth and protection. You are safe, you are home. Rest now, in the soft, quiet light of dawn. Before the sun has fully stretched his golden fingers across the earth, a silent conversation unfolds among the earliest humans. It is a language not yet born of words, but of subtle gestures, knowing looks, and the delicate movements of hands and bodies. This was a communication deeply rooted in connection, in trust, and in the shared understanding that life depends not just on speech, but on the unspoken bonds between people. Imagine a morning in the Paleolithic age, where the air is crisp and filled with the faint scent of dew on leaves. A small group gathers, their eyes bright with awareness, their bodies moving slowly, deliberately. One elder raises a hand and points towards the horizon. There is no spoken command, only a glance and a shared understanding that it is time to move, to follow the herds or seek fresh water. Without words, a plan is made. Without speech, cooperation flourishes. Expressions speak volumes. A furrowed brow warns of danger lurking nearby, a gentle smile offers comfort and reassurance. The tilt of a head, the raising of eyebrows, The subtle shift of a shoulder, each movement carries meaning, conveying emotions and intentions with a clarity that transcends language. Touch becomes sacred, a reassuring hand on a trembling shoulder. The gentle linking of fingers in moments of solidarity, a soft stroke to calm a frightened child. In these early communities, such gestures were the lifeblood of communication, weaving invisible threads of empathy and understanding that held the group together. The eyes, windows to the soul, played a crucial role in this silent dialogue. A glance exchanged between two people could hold the promise of friendship, the question of curiosity, or the solemnity of shared grief. The ability to read these nonverbal cues was a vital skill, honed through experience and passed down as a form of wisdom. In a world where dangers were many and survival was uncertain, being attuned to these silent signals meant the difference between life and death. Storytelling, even in its earliest form, was deeply intertwined with this silent language. Around the glowing fire, before the invention of spoken words, stories were enacted through gestures in mime. A hunter might mimic the stealthy movements of a deer, tracing arcs in the air with hands, while others watched closely, learning the secrets of the chase. Shapes and figures were drawn in the dirt or on cave walls with fingers or charcoal, creating visual tales that conveyed knowledge, history, and cultural identity. These stories, though wordless, were powerful vessels of meaning, binding the tribe across generations. Sound, too, found its place within this emerging system of communication. Soft hums, whistles, and calls filled the spaces between gestures. Though not yet words, these vocalizations were laden with intent, warnings of approaching danger, invitations to gather, expressions of joy or sorrow. The tribe learned to recognize the subtle differences in tone, pitch, and rhythm, understanding a complex emotional language that complemented the silent gestures. Music began to emerge from these sounds, the tapping of stones against wood, the rhythmic beating of sticks, the rising chorus of voices humming in unison. These early rhythms created harmony within the group, lifting spirits, calming fears, and forging connections. Music and movement became intertwined expressions of community, early rituals that transcended the need for words. Trust was at the core of this silent language. The tribe came to understand that communication was not merely about exchanging information, but about building relationships, fostering cooperation, and nurturing the bonds that made collective survival possible. The silences between gestures and sounds were as meaningful as the actions themselves, moments of shared understanding and reflection that allowed each person to feel seen, heard, and valued without uttering a word. Imagine now yourself within this ancient circle. Feel the warmth of firelight flickering across faces, the soft murmur of breath mingling with the night air. Sense the gentle touch of a hand reassuring you, the knowing glance that bridges distance without sound. Listen not only to the words that are absent, but to the profound communication that flows silently between hearts and minds. Let this quiet language wash over your thoughts, calming the restless chatter of the mind. Breathe deeply, allowing yourself to be enveloped in the comforting rhythm of connection beyond words. Feel the pulse of humanity's earliest conversation, alive and enduring within you. You are part of this timeless dialogue. You are understood beyond words. You are at peace. Rest now embraced by the language of silence. Long before the flicker of electric bulbs, before the glow of lanterns, our ancestors discovered a gift from the earth itself, fire. This primal light, born from striking stones or capturing sparks from flint, became more than warmth or protection. It was the heart of the community, a beacon in the dark, a sacred presence that shaped the very fabric of human life. Imagine the moment when the first spark caught dry leaves and twigs, a tiny flame flickering uncertainly in the shadowed forest. That fragile glow held the promise of life, safety, and transformation. To nurture that flame was to nurture hope. Fire provided light against the overwhelming darkness of night, banishing fear and the unknown. Around its warm circle, the tribe gathered close, bodies leaning in, faces illuminated by dancing amber shadows. The fire became a place of connection, a silent storyteller weaving threads of belonging. Its warmth melted the chill of cold nights, allowing people to rest easier, to dream deeper, and to wake renewed. It extended the day, offering hours of comfort and conversation that would have been impossible in the cold dark. Cooking was born from fire's embrace. The harshness of raw food softened by gentle heat, flavors unfolding, nourishment transformed. This simple act of turning fire into food changed the human body and mind, making energy easier to absorb and unlocking potential that shaped evolution. But fire was more than a tool. It was a guardian, its crackling sounds warning of prowling predators, and its flickering light keeping dangers at bay. To tend the fire was a sacred duty, a responsibility shared across the tribe. The rituals surrounding fire were many and deep. It was kindled with care, sparks coaxed with breath and patience. Sacred ceremonies took place beside the flames, dances, songs, prayers honoring the power that sustained life. Fire connected generations. Elders shared stories, passing wisdom in the glow. Children watched wide-eyed, absorbing knowledge through tales of hunts, stars, and spirits. The fire's light reflected not just on faces, but on the collective soul of the tribe. The smoky scent became a familiar presence, a comforting reminder of home and safety. Flames danced upward, reaching toward the sky, a bridge between earth and spirit. The fire's pulse echoed in the beating hearts around it, creating a rhythm of life and community. Imagine yourself now beside that ancient fire. Feel the gentle warmth caressing your skin. Hear the soft crackle as wood shifts and burns. See the shadows play, forming shapes both real and imagined on the walls of time. Breathe in the smoky air, let it fill your lungs and calm your mind. Let the fire's glow seep into your thoughts, melting worries and soothing restlessness. Know that this flame you feel is ancient, a gift carried through countless ages. It lives within you, a light in the darkness, a comfort in the cold. You are held in fire's warm embrace. You are safe. You are home. Rest now in the gentle glow. The ancient world was vast, wild, and alive. Endless forests whispered ancient secrets. Rivers sang softly as they meandered through valleys, and the wind carried the stories of animals across sprawling plains. For the earliest humans, survival was a delicate dance choreographed by nature itself. This dance, the rhythm of the hunt, was an ancient art that demanded not only physical skill, but deep understanding, patience, and respect. Unlike the frantic chase imagined in stories, hunting in the Paleolithic era was a measured, thoughtful process, a collaboration between the hunter, the prey, and the environment. It began long before footsteps pressed into soft earth. It started with the keen observation of signs hidden in plain sight. The broken twig here, the faint hoofprints in the mud there, every detail was a clue in the vast puzzle of survival. Hunters learned to read the language of the land, the way grasses bent under animal passage. How the scent of disturbed earth mingled with the crisp morning air, and the subtle sounds carried by the breeze. They listened to the songs of birds, sharp calls signaling danger, or silence hinting at stillness. In this silent conversation between hunter and hunted, patience was key. Rushing could mean missing the connection that might secure a meal or provoke danger. Movement was slow and deliberate. Every step was taken with care, balancing between silence and stillness. The body became an instrument finely tuned to the environment, muscles coiled, senses sharpened, heartbeat steady. The hunter's eyes were trained to notice the slightest motion, the flicker of a tail or the shimmer of an animal's coat. Their presence was felt without sound, shadows among shadows. But the hunt was not a solo endeavor. It was a communal ritual, a choreography where each member of the group played an essential role. Trackers followed trails days old, mapping the migrations of herds across mountains and rivers. Spears were crafted with care, flint points snapped with precision, shafts shaped for balance and flight. Others prepared ambush sites or coordinated to drive animals toward waiting hunters. This cooperation was a testament to the early social bonds that strengthened humanity's chances against nature's challenges. Each hunt was imbued with reverence. The animal was more than sustenance, it was a spirit, a force of nature that deserved honor. When the prey was caught, no part was wasted. Flesh fed the tribe, hides became clothing and shelter, bones were fashioned into tools and weapons, sinews transformed into binding materials. This complete use reflected a profound respect for the balance between taking life and sustaining life. As darkness fell, the tribe gathered around the fire, the glowing heart of their community. Here, stories of the hunt were told in quiet tones. Tales of bravery, cunning, and survival passed from elders to the young, ensuring that knowledge and wisdom flowed through generations. These narratives were not just entertainment. They were lessons, spiritual connections, and a reaffirmation of the tribe's place within the natural world. The rhythm of the hunt echoed far beyond the chase itself. It shaped the movements of the tribe across the seasons, dictated social roles, and influenced spiritual beliefs. The cycles of nature became intertwined with the cycles of human life: birth, growth, death, and rebirth reflected in the patterns of animal migrations and environmental change. Imagine yourself now walking softly through an ancient forest, feeling the cool earth beneath your feet, sensing the tension and anticipation in the air. Hear the gentle rustle of leaves, the distant call of a bird, the steady beat of your own breath. Let the slow, deliberate rhythm of the hunt calm your mind and ease your body. Let patience and presence fill you. You are part of this ancient dance. You move with intention and care. You rest in the peace of connection. Imagine a time long ago, when the sun rose and set in much the same way it does now, but the world was untouched, wild, and full of mysteries waiting to be uncovered. In those ancient days, the very essence of survival was deeply rooted in community, a shared existence where gathering and sharing were not just daily acts, but vital threads weaving the fabric of life itself. The tribe, small yet resilient, moved together through the landscape, connected by bonds forged through countless seasons of hardship and harmony. Every member, from the youngest child to the wisest elder, played a role in this intricate dance of life. To gather was to sustain, to share was to nurture, and in these acts, the heartbeat of community pulsed strong and steady. Gathering was more than simply collecting food. It was an art shaped by keen observation, intimate knowledge of plants and animals, and a profound respect for the earth. The early humans learned to identify the subtle differences between edible berries and poisonous ones, to recognize which roots could be safely dug from the soil, and to understand the seasons when certain plants thrived or faded. This wisdom was not written in books, but carried in the memory of generations, passed down through stories, gestures, and careful teaching. The act of gathering was often gentle and patient, a quiet communion with nature. The tribe moved carefully through forests and meadows, hands reaching out to pluck ripe fruits, to dig nourishing tubers, or to collect fragrant herbs. This relationship with the land was one of balance and respect. They took only what was needed, mindful not to deplete the earth's bounty, understanding that nature's gifts were a sacred trust to be honored. Sharing, then, was the natural extension of gathering. Food was not hoarded or kept for oneself, but distributed generously among the tribe. This act reinforced the social bonds and ensured that no one was left wanting. The sharing of food was a symbol of trust and cooperation, a recognition that survival was collective, not individual. It was through this generosity that the tribe grew strong, not just in body but in spirit. Around the fire, the warmth of shared meals brought people together. Stories flowed freely alongside food, weaving lessons, histories, and hopes into the fabric of daily life. The act of eating became a ceremony, one of connection, gratitude, and continuity. Through the sharing of food, the tribe affirmed its identity and its place within the natural world. This sense of community extended beyond mere survival. It shaped the way early humans related to one another, fostering empathy, cooperation, and a deep sense of belonging. Elders offered guidance drawn from years of experience. Children learned through participation and observation. Each person's well-being was intertwined with the well-being of the whole. The tools of gathering also tell a story of ingenuity and adaptation. Simple baskets woven from reeds, digging sticks fashioned from sturdy branches, and sharp stones carefully crafted to aid in harvesting. Each artifact speaks to a people learning, experimenting, and thriving in a challenging world. These tools not only made gathering more efficient, but also reflected the creativity and resourcefulness at the heart of human survival. In the quiet moments between tasks, the tribe found time for rest and reflection. The gentle rustle of leaves, the distant call of birds, the soothing rhythm of flowing water provided a backdrop for contemplation and connection. These pauses were vital, a chance to renew strength, to share thoughts, and to deepen bonds. Imagine yourself now within this circle of shared life. Feel the cool earth beneath your feet, the gentle warmth of the fire against your skin, the comforting murmur of voices blending with the sounds of nature. Let the rhythm of gathering and sharing slow your breath, calm your thoughts, and soothe your spirit. You are part of this timeless community. You are nourished by connection. You are at peace. Rest now, embraced by the heartbeat of shared life. In the early dawn of human existence, when the world was vast and full of mystery, one of the most profound gifts that our ancestors discovered was the ability to shape their environment with their own hands. This gift was the making of tools, simple yet powerful objects that transformed life, offering new possibilities, protection, and the promise of progress. Imagine the first moment when a sharp stone was struck against another, creating an edge so keen it could slice through skin, cut meat, or carve wood. This was not mere happenstance, but the beginning of a journey that would forever change the course of humanity. The making of tools was an act of creativity, intelligence, and patience. It was a silent language between human and earth, between mind and matter. Tools were more than just objects, they were extensions of the body and mind. Each crafted tool told a story of purpose, skill, and adaptation. A spear point fashioned from flint could bring down prey from a distance, sparing the hunter danger. Scrapers made from sharpened stones allowed for the cleaning and preparation of hides, turning animal skins into clothing and shelter. The careful shaping of blades, chisels, and drills reflected a deep understanding of materials and technique. This craftsmanship was honed through generations of observation and experimentation. Young members of the tribe watched elders with attentive eyes, learning the subtle art of flint knapping, the skillful striking, and shaping of stones to produce tools of remarkable precision. These lessons were shared in patient silence and gentle guidance, forming a living tradition that connected past, present, and future. The creation of tools also fostered a new form of social connection. Tasks were divided and shared, with some specializing in making weapons, others in crafting containers or decorative items. This specialization strengthened the community, building trust and interdependence. Tools became symbols not only of survival but of identity and belonging. Beyond practicality, tools opened doors to innovation. They enabled the tribe to expand their diet, process food in new ways, and create art that spoke to their experiences and beliefs. Tools were part of rituals and ceremonies, imbued with meaning that transcended their function. Some objects were carefully decorated or shaped to honor spirits, ancestors, or natural forces. The act of crafting tools required patience and mindfulness. Each strike of flint, each careful shaping of bone, was a meditation, a dance between intention and material. The sounds of hammerstone on core, the smell of freshly chipped stone, the sight of a newly formed edge, all these sensory experiences connected the maker to the world in profound ways. Imagine yourself now sitting beside a flickering fire, hands working steadily to shape a piece of flint into a sharp point. Feel the cool weight of the stone, the texture beneath your fingers, the focused calm settling over your mind. Hear the rhythmic taps echoing softly in the quiet night. This moment is timeless, linking you to countless generations who have shaped their future with patient hands. As the tool takes form, so too does the promise of tomorrow, a promise that through skill, creativity, and connection, humanity continues its journey of growth and discovery. You are part of this ancient lineage. You are the maker and the dreamer. You are held in the rhythm of creation. Rest now, surrounded by the timeless dance of hand and earth. From the very beginning of human existence, life unfolded in cycles, rhythms carved into the fabric of nature, a code in the beating hearts of early humans. The circle of life encompassed birth, growth, maturity, and eventually, the gentle fading into the embrace of the earth. Each phase held meaning, woven together by shared experience, ritual, and deep connection to the world around them. Imagine the first light of dawn touching a small, ancient settlement. The air is cool, filled with soft sounds, the rustling of leaves, the distant call of birds, and the quiet breath of a mother cradling her newborn child. Birth in these times was a sacred event, a miracle that ensured the continuation of the tribe, a promise carried forward through generations. Though surrounded by uncertainty and danger, the arrival of new life was met with joy and reverence. Midwives and elders gathered, offering gentle hands and wise words. The process was both deeply natural and profoundly spiritual, with rituals to welcome the child and honor the spirits believed to watch over them. The newborn was not just an individual, but a vital thread in the tapestry of the community. Growth was a journey marked by exploration and learning. Children observed the world around them, imitating the movements of adults, discovering plants and animals, and gradually mastering the skills necessary for survival. Play was intertwined with education, and every day brought new lessons: how to gather food, how to track animals, how to craft tools, and how to listen to the whispers of the earth. As they grew, children were embraced by the community. Elders told stories of ancestors and taught the values that held the tribe together: respect for nature, cooperation, courage, and compassion. These teachings were not confined to words, but lived through example and shared experience. The circle of life was thus a circle of learning and belonging. Maturity brought new responsibilities. Adults hunted, gathered, cared for the young and the old, and contributed to the community's survival. They became keepers of knowledge and tradition, participating in rituals that marked the changing seasons and honored the cycles of the earth. Their lives were a blend of labor, connection, and reflection. The passage of time was felt deeply, not measured by clocks but by the cycles of the moon, the blossoming and withering of plants, and the migration of animals. These natural rhythms provided a steady backdrop, guiding daily life and spiritual understanding. Time was a flowing river, carrying the tribe through moments of joy and challenge, birth and loss. Death, while a source of grief, was also embraced as part of this eternal cycle. The tribe honored those who passed with ceremonies and remembrance, believing that their spirits joined the great tapestry of existence. Ancestors were not forgotten but lived on in stories, symbols, and the land itself, guiding the living and nurturing the future. Imagine yourself now walking alongside this ancient community, witnessing the tender moments of birth, the eager steps of childhood, the steady hands of adulthood, and the peaceful rest of those who have returned to the earth. Feel the deep connection that ties all life together, a sacred circle unbroken through time. Breathe slowly, feeling the rhythm of life pulse within you. Know that you, too, are part of this endless circle, held in the embrace of past and future, rooted in the present moment. You are life. You are growth. You are connected. Rest now in the peace of the eternal circle. Long before telescopes or star charts, early humans gazed up at the night sky with wonder, curiosity, and a deep sense of connection. The vast expanse of twinkling light stretched endlessly above them, a silent canvas painted with mysteries, stories, and meaning. The stars were more than distant points of light. They were guides, markers, and symbols woven into the fabric of daily life. Imagine a clear, dark night in prehistoric times. The campfire's warm glow flickers softly, casting gentle shadows on faces turned upward toward the heavens. The Milky Way spills like a river of light, countless stars shimmering in quiet brilliance. The constellations, though unnamed by our modern tongues, were patterns seen and revered shapes traced by imagination and memory. The night sky offered both comfort and challenge. It was a source of navigation, helping tribes traverse vast landscapes when the sun was gone. Stars became natural compasses, their positions shifting predictably through the seasons. Early humans learned to read these celestial signals, tracking time and direction, understanding when to plant, harvest, or migrate. But the stars were not only practical guides, they were also a gateway to spirituality and storytelling. Around the fire, elders pointed to the sky, sharing tales that connected the movements of stars to events on Earth, stories of heroes, animals, and cosmic battles. These narratives created a shared mythology, binding the community with shared beliefs and values. The cycles of the moon also held special significance. Its phases were closely watched and interpreted, marking times for rituals, hunting, or rest. The waxing and waning moon was a living calendar, guiding human activity in harmony with nature's rhythms. Stargazing was a quiet, contemplative act. It invited reflection on the vastness of existence and humanity's place within it. The silence of the night sky offered space for awe, wonder, and connection to something greater than oneself. In that stillness, early humans found both humility and inspiration. The stars also sparked early scientific thinking. Patterns were noticed, questions formed, and hypotheses made about the movements above. Though explanations were woven into myth and ritual, the curiosity that stared skyward laid the foundations for later discoveries. Imagine yourself now lying beneath this ancient sky. Feel the cool night air on your skin, the earth steady beneath you, the infinite stars stretching overhead. Let your thoughts drift with the constellations, calm and free. Breathe deeply, absorbing the timeless beauty of the cosmos. You are part of this vast universe. You are connected to the stars. You are embraced by the night. Rest now, cradled by the gentle light of ancient skies. Long before the towering cathedrals or intricate temples of later civilizations, the earliest humans found sacredness in the rhythms of daily life. Their world was alive with spirit in the rustling of leaves, the flowing of rivers, the crackling of fire, and the cycles of the moon and sun. Rituals and spirituality were woven into every moment, shaping their understanding of existence and their connection to the unseen. Imagine the hush of dawn settling over a small tribe as the first light paints the earth in soft hues. The community gathers in a circle, the air thick with quiet anticipation. Movements are deliberate and slow, gestures rich with meaning. The dance begins not a performance for spectacle, but a sacred dialogue between humans and the forces they revere. These rituals honored life's mysteries: birth, death, renewal, and expressed gratitude for the gifts of nature. They sought to balance human existence with the powerful forces that govern the world, ensuring harmony and protection. The drum beats and chants echoed the heartbeat of the earth itself, weaving a tapestry of sound and silence. Sacred objects, often simple and crafted with care, became focal points of worship and connection. Stones, bones, and plants carried symbolic meanings, acting as bridges between the material and spiritual realms. The crafting of these items was an act of devotion, an expression of reverence and intention. Rituals also marked the passage of time and transitions within the tribe. Coming-of-age ceremonies, rites of passage for hunters, and communal gatherings celebrated milestones, reinforcing social bonds and collective identity. These events were moments of transformation, where individuals were honored and the community's strength renewed. Spirit beings and ancestral forces were central to early beliefs. The tribe sensed that invisible presences watched over them, guiding and protecting. Offerings and prayers sought favor and balance, acknowledging the delicate dance between humans and the natural world. Movement and dance held profound spiritual power. The body became a vessel for expressing emotion, belief, and connection. The rhythmic swaying, stumping, and twirling mirrored natural cycles, the ebb and flow of tides, the turning of seasons, the rising and setting of stars. Through this sacred dance, humans became part of the cosmic rhythm. Imagine yourself now in the circle, feet grounded in the earth, heart aligned with the drum beats. Breath steady and calm. Feel the warmth of the fire, the shared presence of your tribe, the invisible threads of spirit weaving through the air. Let the dance carry you beyond time, beyond words, into a space of peace and unity. You are part of this sacred dance. You are connected to the earth and sky. You are embraced by spirit. Rest now, carried on the rhythms of ancient reverence. Since the dawn of humanity, stories have been the threads that bind individuals into communities, that weave the past into the present and lay the foundation for the future. Storytelling is an ancient art, predating written language, carried forward by the spoken word, gesture, and shared experience around glowing fires and under vast skies. Imagine the soft crackle of flames as the tribe gathers close, faces illuminated by flickering light. An elder begins to speak, voice low and steady, weaving tales that carry wisdom, history, and wonder. These stories are not mere entertainment. They are vessels of identity, memory, and survival. Through stories, the tribe preserves its knowledge of the land, where to find water during dry seasons, how to track animals, and which plants hold healing power. They share lessons about courage, kindness, and respect, teaching the young what it means to be part of the community. Stories explain the origins of the world, the stars, and the cycles of nature, providing meaning and comfort. The power of storytelling lies not just in the words, but in the connection it fosters. It invites listeners to step into other lives and times, to feel the joy and sorrow, triumph and struggle of those who came before. In this shared experience, empathy and understanding grow, nurturing social bonds. Gestures, facial expressions, and tone bring stories to life, transforming the narrative into a living performance. The storyteller's voice rises and falls like the wind through trees, capturing attention and guiding imagination. Stories ripple through the tribe, passed from one generation to the next, evolving yet rooted in timeless truths. Storytelling also offers a sacred space for reflection and healing. Through metaphor and myth, complex emotions find expression. Challenges and fears are explored safely, and hope is rekindled. The ritual of gathering to hear stories reinforces a sense of belonging and continuity. Imagine yourself now by the fire, listening as tales unfold like gentle waves. Let the stories wash over you, soothing and inspiring. Feel the warmth of community and the richness of shared memory. Let your mind wander through ancient landscapes, guided by voices that have echoed across time. You are part of this endless story. You carry the wisdom of countless voices. You are held in the embrace of memory. Rest now, wrapped in the gentle power of storytelling. Long before written words etched on stone or paper, early humans found ways to communicate beyond mere sounds. They discovered the power of symbols, marks, shapes, and signs that conveyed meaning, emotion, and intent. These early forms of communication laid the groundwork for language, art, and culture, bridging minds across time and space. Imagine the flickering light of a fire illuminating a rock surface where simple patterns are drawn or carved. A handprint, a series of lines, or an abstract shape becomes a message, a story, a connection. These symbols were tools of memory, guides for journeys, and expressions of identity. The earliest symbols likely emerged from the daily life of the tribe. Marks might indicate territory boundaries, denote successful hunts, or warn of dangers. Over time, symbols evolved to represent more abstract ideas, spiritual beliefs, social roles, and communal values. The making and interpreting of symbols required shared understanding and trust. They were a language beyond words, accessible to those who knew their meanings. This visual communication strengthened social cohesion, allowing complex ideas to be conveyed quickly and effectively. Symbols also played a role in rituals and ceremonies. Painted hands on cave walls, animal figures etched in stone, and geometric shapes carried spiritual significance. They connected the tribe to ancestors, nature, and the unseen forces guiding their lives. The act of creating symbols was itself meaningful, a deliberate, mindful process that connected the maker to the world and to others. The textures of stone, the flow of pigment, the shape of a carved line all held intention and reverence. Through symbols, early humans began to tell stories visually, preserving memories and beliefs for future generations. This visual storytelling complemented oral traditions, enriching the cultural tapestry. Imagine yourself now tracing a handprint on a cool rock wall, feeling the rough texture beneath your fingertips. Sense the weight of history in the simple mark, a bridge linking you to countless others who have left their imprint on the world. You are part of this ancient dialogue. You carry the language of symbols. You are connected through meaning. Rest now, embraced by the silent power of signs. Long before the steady rhythm of modern life, the world around early humans was a place of constant change, shifting landscapes, roaring rivers, rising and falling mountains, and the ceaseless dance of climate. To survive, they had to become experts not only in reading the signs of animals and plants, but also in understanding the ever-changing earth beneath their feet. Imagine vast glaciers slowly retreating, exposing new valleys and plains rich with life. The climate warmed and cooled in cycles that spanned generations, reshaping ecosystems and forcing humans to adapt or move. These environmental shifts were both challenge and opportunity, a call to resilience, creativity, and profound observation. The early humans' survival depended on their ability to notice subtle changes. The arrival of a migratory herd, the blooming of a particular flower signaling the start of a season, or the shifting patterns of rivers after heavy rains. These natural cues guided their movements, their food gathering, and their social organization. Adaptation was a way of life. Clothing evolved from simple animal hides to more complex garments crafted to protect against wind, cold, and heat. Shelter became more sophisticated, from natural caves to constructed huts made from wood, bone, and stone. Tools were refined to meet new challenges, enabling hunting of different species and the preparation of diverse foods. This relationship with the earth was deeply reciprocal. Humans were not passive observers but active participants in the landscape. They managed resources carefully, practiced early forms of land stewardship, and learned to live in balance with nature's rhythms. The changing earth also shaped cultural beliefs and spiritual practices. Many early rituals centered on honoring the forces that governed weather, fertility, and the cycles of life and death. Mountains, rivers, and forests were seen as sacred, inhabited by spirits that needed respect and gratitude. Imagine yourself now standing at the edge of a vast plain, feeling the wind on your face and the shifting earth beneath your feet. Sense the ever-moving world around you, full of mystery and life. Let this awareness bring calm and clarity, a deep connection to the pulse of the planet. You are part of this great unfolding. You move with the earth's rhythm. You are rooted and free. Rest now, held gently by the changing earth. In the vast wilderness where ancient humans lived, survival was often a delicate balance between strength and vulnerability. Injuries, illnesses, and the harshness of nature tested their resilience every day. Yet, amidst these challenges, early humans developed a profound understanding of healing, an art born from observation, compassion, and a deep connection to the natural world. Imagine a quiet clearing where a member of the tribe tends gently to a wounded companion. The air is filled with the scent of herbs and earth, the soft murmur of voices offering comfort and reassurance. Healing was not simply the absence of pain, but a holistic practice embracing body, mind, and spirit. Early humans recognized the medicinal properties of plants, roots, and minerals. Leaves that soothed inflammation, roots that eased pain, and bark that stilled fever became precious allies. This knowledge was accumulated through careful experimentation and passed down through generations, guarded as a sacred trust. The role of the healer was vital and revered. Often, these individuals combined practical skill with spiritual insight, serving as guides who bridged the seen and unseen worlds. Their touch was gentle, their words calming, and their presence a source of hope. Healing rituals were intertwined with the tribe's beliefs and customs. Offerings, prayers, and ceremonies accompanied treatments, honoring the forces believed to aid recovery. The community's support was essential, creating a network of care that nurtured both the patient and the collective spirit. The practice of healing also fostered empathy and social cohesion. Caring for the sick and injured reinforced bonds and affirmed the tribe's commitment to each other's well-being. It was a reminder that survival was not only about individual strength, but collective resilience. Imagine yourself now sitting quietly in this circle of care. Feel the warmth of gentle hands, hear the soft words of encouragement, and breathe in the calming scent of healing herbs. Let this sense of compassion and connection soothe your mind and body. You are held in a circle of care. You are nurtured by ancient wisdom. You are surrounded by healing light. Rest now, embraced by the art of healing. Long before spoken words carried meaning, the language of touch was among the first and most profound ways early humans communicated. In a world where survival hinged on cooperation, trust, and social bonds, touch became a vital thread weaving individuals into cohesive communities. It spoke of comfort, warning, affection, and understanding, all without a single uttered sound. Imagine a newborn child nestled safely in a mother's arms, the gentle caress of skin against skin conveying love and security. This early bond laid the foundation for emotional development, fostering trust and a sense of belonging that would sustain the child throughout life. Touch was the silent dialogue that nurtured growth and resilience. Within the tribe, touch extended beyond caregiving to social rituals. Handshakes, embraces, and simple gestures conveyed respect, reconciliation, and alliance. A firm grip might reassure a frightened companion, while a gentle touch could soothe the anxiety or pain. These physical connections reinforced the invisible ties that held the group together. Touch also played a role in teaching and learning. Apprenticeship in tool making, hunting techniques, or gathering plants often involved hands guiding hands, passing knowledge in a tactile way that words alone could not capture. This embodied learning created deep, lasting understanding and connection. The healing arts of early humans further highlighted the power of touch. Massage, pressure, and manipulation of the body were used to alleviate pain, stimulate healing, and restore balance. These practices combined physical skill with spiritual intention, recognizing the body as a sacred vessel. Imagine the warmth of a comforting hand, the steady rhythm of shared movement, the delicate brush of fingertips conveying emotion and care. In this language, presence mattered, being fully attentive and connected without distraction. The language of touch transcends time, continuing to shape human connection today. It reminds us of our shared humanity and the profound need for closeness, understanding, and compassion. Imagine yourself now, surrounded by trusted companions, feeling the reassuring presence of touch, soft, steady, and true. Let this sensation ground you, calm your mind, and open your heart. You are connected through touch. You are held by caring hands. You are part of a loving community. Rest now, enveloped in the gentle language of touch. Long before the rise of great cities and towering monuments, fire was the glowing heart around which early humans gathered. It was a force both primal and transformative, providing warmth, protection, light, and a focal point for community and culture. The mastery of fire marked a profound turning point, one that reshaped daily life and echoed through generations. Imagine a cold night in prehistoric times. The stars twinkle high above, but the world below is dark and vast. Suddenly, a spark bursts into flame, fragile yet fierce. This small flame holds immense power, the promise of safety from predators, a tool for cooking, and a beacon of togetherness. Learning to create and control fire was no simple feat. It required patience, skill, and knowledge passed carefully from one generation to the next. Early humans discovered how to strike stones to produce sparks, gather dry tinder, and nurture flames into steady fires. This expertise was vital, a symbol of human ingenuity and adaptability. Fire extended the day, allowing gatherings to continue long after the sun had set. Around the fire's warm glow, stories were told, songs were sung, and rituals performed. The fire's light illuminated faces, revealing expressions of joy, wonder, and contemplation. It was a place of comfort and connection. The benefits of fire went beyond social and cultural realms. Cooking transformed food, making it safer and easier to digest, unlocking nutrients, and providing energy that fueled the human brain. Fire also allowed early humans to venture into colder climates, expanding their range and possibilities. The fire's flicker also cast shadows, shapes that sparked imagination and perhaps the earliest art. Cave walls came alive with painted animals and symbols, inspired by the dance of light and darkness. Fire became a source of creativity and expression. But fire demanded respect. It was a force of nature that could both sustain and destroy. The tribe learned to manage it carefully, understanding when to kindle and when to let it rest. This balance reflected a deep relationship with the environment, a harmony between control and reverence. Imagine yourself now sitting beside a crackling fire, feeling its gentle warmth against your skin. Hear the comforting snap and hiss of burning wood. Let the fire's steady pulse soothe your mind and invite a sense of safety and peace. You are warmed by this ancient flame. You are connected to generations past. You are embraced by the light of life. Rest now, cradled in the heartbeat of fire. Long before the concrete jungles and sprawling cities of today, early humans sought a place to call home, a sanctuary where body and spirit could find rest, safety, and connection. Shelter was more than a physical structure. It was a symbol of belonging, protection, and the nurturing embrace of community. Imagine the gentle curve of a cave opening, cool and inviting, or the carefully constructed framework of branches and hides woven together against the elements. These early shelters provided refuge from harsh weather, wild animals, and the uncertainties of the natural world. They were places where families gathered, stories were shared, and the rhythms of life unfolded in safety. The art of building shelter required ingenuity and cooperation. Early humans learned to select sites that offered natural protection near water, elevated ground, or sheltered by rock formations. Materials were gathered thoughtfully: sturdy branches, animal hides, stones, each chosen for strength and resilience. The construction process was a communal effort, reflecting shared responsibility and trust. Shelters were adapted to seasons and environments. In colder climates, insulation was vital. Layers of fur and moss provided warmth, while windbreaks shielded against biting gusts. In warmer regions, shelters were designed for ventilation and shade, offering respite from the sun's heat. This adaptability demonstrated a deep understanding of nature's rhythms and cycles. Beyond physical protection, shelters nurtured emotional well-being. They were places of intimacy and connection, where relationships deepened and traditions were upheld. Within these walls, early humans felt the comfort of belonging, a sanctuary where fears could be soothed and hopes nurtured. The design of shelters also reflected cultural expression. Decorations, symbols, and arrangements of space conveyed identity and values. Some structures became sacred spaces, sites of ritual and reflection, linking the community to the spiritual world. Imagine yourself now entering such a shelter, feeling the soft earth beneath your feet, the gentle warmth of a fire, and the comforting presence of those around you. Breathe deeply, allowing the sense of safety and belonging to settle within your heart. You are sheltered. You are connected. You are home. As we reach the end of this journey through the everyday life of our ancient ancestors, take a moment to reflect on the simple, yet profound things that shaped their world and, in many ways, continue to shape ours. From gathering food and crafting tools to telling stories and building homes, these early practices remind us of our deep roots and shared humanity. If you've enjoyed this slow, thoughtful exploration, I invite you to join our community. Please consider subscribing to the channel so you never miss a new video that takes you on a calm, immersive journey into history and beyond. Feel free to share your thoughts or questions in the comments below. What part of early human life fascinated you the most? Is there a topic you'd like to explore next? Your engagement helps create a space where we can learn and reflect together. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for sharing in this peaceful moment. Until next time, may your days be calm, your nights restful, and your curiosity ever alive. Rest now, embraced by the quiet sanctuary of belonging. Long before the invention of drums, flutes, or stringed instruments, early humans lived in a world filled with natural rhythm. The rustling of leaves in the wind, the crackling of fire, the rhythmic splash of water, and the haunting calls of animals. All these sounds formed the original symphony of life. It was within this raw, organic soundscape that the human relationship with music began. But how did they create music without instruments? What role did sound and rhythm play in their daily existence? Let's travel back and imagine it together. Picture a small group gathered around a fire beneath the star-strewn sky. One person begins to hum, low and steady. Another joins in, tapping a stick gently on a rock. A third adds the rhythm of hands clapping. It is primitive, yet profoundly human. This is music in its purest form, an expression of connection, emotion, and the heartbeat of shared experience. Even without formal instruments, early humans likely discovered that their bodies were tools of sound. The clap of hands, the stomp of feet on packed earth, the snap of fingers, or the rhythmic beating on their chests. These sounds echoed their own internal rhythms, like the beating of the heart or the breath rising and falling. Vocalizations may have been the very first instrument. Humming, whistling, chanting, and wordless singing could express joy, sorrow, warning, or wonder. Repeating sounds in rhythm created comfort and familiarity, a structure to mirror the order they sought in a wild and unpredictable world. These early songs weren't performed for audiences but shared in intimate, sacred spaces to soothe a child, to pass time during labor, or to prepare minds and bodies for a hunt. Sound became ritual. A chant might build focus, a hum might bring calm, and a spontaneous melody might simply express the joy of being alive. The environments they lived in added their own acoustic signature. Caves, for instance, have rich natural reverberation. When early humans made sounds in those spaces, whether by voice, clapping, or striking rock, they likely discovered the awe-inspiring echo that must have seemed like magic. This discovery may have contributed to the use of caves for sacred and ceremonial purposes. They weren't just shelters, they were resonating chambers of sound and spirit. Over time, as human curiosity grew, they began shaping natural materials into objects that enhanced these rhythms. A hollow bone might become a simple flute. Shells could be struck together to make a beat. Seeds in dried gourds shook to produce soft rattling sounds. These were not yet instruments in the modern sense, but they were early steps toward a deeper musical language. But more than sound itself, music was about feeling. It was about sync. Moving and breathing together, aligning minds and hearts. It could energize or calm, unify or soothe, inspire movement or stillness. The tribe didn't need words to understand the emotional language of music. Imagine now that you are part of such a gathering. The air is crisp, and the sky stretches above you like an endless dome. Someone begins a soft hum. You join, and soon the entire group is immersed in a gentle, flowing rhythm. No pressure, no expectation, just presence. In harmony with those around you in the world that holds you. Let the imagined sound of that ancient music carry you. Let it ground you. Let it remind you that even without instruments, without language, our ancestors reached toward beauty, toward unity, toward peace. You are part of that lineage. You are a note in the song of time. Rest now in the music that has no beginning and no end. In the silence of ancient forests and sweeping plains, early humans were not alone. They shared their world with a great variety of animals. Some feared, some hunted, and some, in time, befriended. Long before domestication became a structured process, the bond between humans and animals began as a quiet, mutual understanding, growing from cautious observation into deep companionship. Imagine a tribe tracking game through tall grass. The humans pause as they notice a lone wolf trailing them. Not attacking, merely watching. Over time, the presence becomes familiar. The humans leave behind scraps. The wolf keeps a respectful distance. Days pass. Then seasons. Eventually, the wolf approaches closer. It is the beginning of trust. This slow unfolding of cooperation laid the foundation for one of humanity's most meaningful relationships. The bond with animals. Long before sheep were herded or horses ridden, humans and animals formed unspoken alliances. Shaped by survival, curiosity, and instinct, wolves may have been the first to truly bridge that divide. Drawn to firelight and leftover meat, they learned that humans could provide. In turn, early humans realized that wolves had sharp senses. They could smell danger, detect prey, and protect the group. Over generations, this mutual benefit likely led to the domesticated dog, not a tool, but a partner. The earliest dogs were not bred in cages or trained in structured ways. They lived beside humans, shared their shelters, followed their movements, and slept at their feet. In return, humans offered food, warmth, and protection. It was a bond of equals, one based on intuition and trust. But dogs were only one thread in a broader tapestry. Early humans observed all animals with reverence. They learned the behaviors of birds, the migratory patterns of herd animals, the hiding places of rabbits, and the strength of bears. Every creature had something to teach, something to give, or something to respect. Some animals were hunted for sustenance, but even in death, they were honored. Rituals often followed the hunt, with bones carefully buried, hides treated with care, and spirits thanked through offerings. Life and death were part of a cycle, and animals were seen not just as resources, but as sacred beings. Over time, other animals too would enter the human fold: goats, sheep, cattle, and later cats, pigs, and horses. But in those earliest days, the boundary between wild and domestic was blurred. Early humans lived among animals, not apart from them. Their senses were sharpened by watching the creatures of the forest. Their myths and stories were filled with animal spirits. Clever foxes, powerful lions, wise owls. Animals were not only helpers or prey, they were guides. Many tribes believed that each person carried an animal spirit within them. Totems, dreams, and rituals often centered around animal symbols, with the belief that these beings offered protection, insight, or even a connection to the afterlife. Imagine now walking quietly along a woodland path. Beside you pads a silent, loyal companion. Not a pet, not a possession, but a fellow traveler. The forest is alive with soft rustles. The flap of wings, the distant howl of another pack far beyond. You move through this living world not as its master, but as one participant among many. Respectful, observant, and humble. Let this imagined companion stay with you a moment longer. Feel their presence, sense their breath, their calm acceptance of the night, their silent promise of protection. You are not alone. You never were. You are part of a greater family, not just of humans, but of all living beings who share this earth with you. Rest now, in the quiet breath of the wild. When the sun dipped below the horizon in ancient times, a different world awoke. The soft glow of daylight gave way to shadows that stretched endlessly, and silence wrapped itself around the sleeping earth. But for early humans, the night was never fully silent, nor fully safe. It was alive with the whispers of unseen things, the eyes that gleamed in darkness, and the sounds that stirred primal instincts. Night brought rest, yes, but also fear. Imagine a small tribe nestled within the safety of a rock shelter. The fire at the center crackles, casting dancing light across the walls. Most have drifted into sleep, curled against each other under furs. But not all. One or two remain awake. The night watchers. These sentinels sit in quiet stillness, scanning the dark. Their ears are trained to separate wind from footsteps, rustling leaves from approaching danger. Their eyes adjust to shadows, watching for the sudden flicker of movement. These guardians aren't just protecting bodies from harm. They are shielding the fragile piece of dreams. In the early days of humanity, night watches weren't optional. They were vital. The darkness held threats, predators like lions, hyenas, or snakes, but also rival humans, storms, and the unknowable. In this time before locks and doors, safety came from awareness, from readiness, from presence. The fire was both symbol and shield. Its light pushed back the night, its heat kept danger at bay. The watchers would feed it carefully through the hours, listening to its voice, learning to interpret the way it crackled or dimmed. Fire didn't only warm the body, it anchored the spirit. But even with the fire, fear crept in. Not all threats were physical. In many ancient cultures, night was also the realm of spirits. Shadows weren't just tricks of light. They were memories, ikus, or omens. The night watcher became not just a protector, but a spiritual intermediary, someone who held space between the visible and invisible worlds. And yet the night was also beautiful. Once fear subsided, those who watched often felt a kind of awe. The stars overhead glittered like a canopy of distant fires. The Milky Way stretched from horizon to horizon. Shooting stars whispered across the sky, and the moon bathed the earth in quiet silver. Some would hum softly, or whisper stories to themselves. Others simply listened, to the owl's cry, to the shifting wind, to the sleeping breath of their people. The experience was deeply meditative. It was in these silent hours that many early humans found clarity about life, dreams, fears, and purpose. Alone with the stars, their minds wandered freely, their spirits touched something vast and mysterious. Now, imagine yourself there, sitting quietly by the fire, its flicker warming your face. Behind you, your people sleep, trusting you to keep them safe. In the distance, a wolf howls, not close, just a note of wildness. Above you, stars shimmer. You breathe slowly, deeply. You are not afraid. You are awake, alive, and aware. You are part of this sacred rhythm. Night and day, sleep and watchfulness, stillness and sound. Let this quiet awareness fill you. Let the stars remind you how small and how vast you are. You are the watcher now, and now you may rest. The fire is still burning. The night is calm. You are safe. Before clocks ticked and calendars filled walls, early humans found their own ways to measure time. Their days were not dictated by numbers or devices, but by the sun's arc across the sky, the patterns of the moon, the blossoming of plants, and the silent migration of stars. They lived not by hours, but by rhythms. Imagine waking with the sunrise, your eyes adjusting not to an alarm, but to the gentle blush of dawn spreading across the horizon. The air is still cool, the grass damp with dew. This, for our ancestors, marked a new beginning. Not a scheduled appointment or a to-do list, but a natural invitation to exist, to move, to be present. Time was circular, not linear. It was lived through cycles, the return of seasons, the repetition of animal migrations, the flowering and fading of certain trees. Every sign in nature had meaning. The return of birds meant warmth was coming. A blood-red moon might signal a shift, an omen, or a memory of something long past. They watched the shadows grow longer, then shorter. They noted how certain stars only appeared in specific months. A child might be born under the bright moon or the moon of cold nights. These weren't just poetic ideas. They were practical, real, and rooted in a world where every detail mattered. And so they began to mark time in subtle, beautiful ways. Some tribes stacked stones to track the sun's position on the solstice. Others carved into trees or bones, noting each passing moon. Still others painted cave walls with symbols that mapped time itself, animals in motion, spirals, dots, all echoing the heartbeat of their world. Their sense of time was not rushed. It wasn't something to be managed or optimized. Time was experienced, not spent. It was observed with patience, reverence, and a deep sense of belonging to something far greater than themselves. There was time to gather, time to rest, time to sing, time to mourn, time to be silent. The night sky was a sacred clock. Imagine lying on your back, your eyes tracing constellations as they slowly shift across the heavens. No numbers, just stars, moving, dancing, whispering secrets passed down through countless generations. Stories were born from those stars. Stories that marked seasons, warned of floods, celebrated harvests, or simply offered comfort on long nights. In such a world, even waiting became meaningful. Early humans didn't anxiously glance at the horizon, wondering why something hadn't happened yet. They trusted the cycle. They watched. They waited. And they learned that everything arrived in its own time. Neither early nor late, but precisely when it was meant to. Now, imagine yourself sitting quietly in the glow of dusk. The sun is low, casting long shadows across the ground. You feel the wind change, cooler now. Birds begin their evening songs. You don't need a clock to know what time it is. Your body knows. The world knows. You're a part of this rhythm. You don't chase time. You live with it. You don't fight the flow. You float in it. So breathe with the earth. Let go of tomorrow. let go of yesterday. There is only this moment, right now. And in this stillness, you are timeless. While the waking world of early humans was filled with survival, connection, and daily ritual, there was another world they explored just as deeply, the world within. Through dreams, trances, and visions, they journeyed into places beyond the visible, into landscapes of memory, mystery, and meaning. Long before psychology or science attempted to define the unconscious, early humans knew that dreams were more than passing images. They were messages, sometimes warnings, sometimes blessings. Often, they were stories waiting to be told. Imagine lying beneath the stars after a long day of movement and gathering. Your body slowly relaxes, your breath deepens, and sleep takes hold. But within your mind, something awakens. You see a great bird soaring over an endless river, or a shadowed figure beckoning from the woods, or your own hands glowing with fire. These dreams weren't dismissed. They were remembered, shared, and honored. Around the morning fire, someone might say, "Last night I dreamt of a wolf with human eyes," and the tribe would listen closely. Elders would nod, interpret, and perhaps link the dream to the coming season, a new birth, or a lost spirit trying to return. Dreams served many roles. They guided decisions, inspired songs, sparked new journeys, or warned of danger. They connected the dreamer not only to their own inner self, but to the entire tribe and even the spirit world. In a way, dreaming was seen as travel, a movement between dimensions. Some individuals, dreamers, seers, shamans, were believed to have the ability to guide others through these inner landscapes. Through rituals, fasting, or rhythmic drumming, they could enter altered states of consciousness, opening doors that were normally closed. In these spaces, they sought healing, wisdom, and sometimes answers to questions no one dared ask aloud. But dreams weren't always grand or mystical. Sometimes they were simple. A reunion with a lost loved one, a walk through a remembered forest, or a moment of laughter that had long faded in waking life. These quiet visions were just as sacred. They reminded early humans that life wasn't just survival. It was also longing, memory, hope, and imagination. The line between dreams and reality was not so clear then. Visions seen in sleep often influenced waking decisions. A dream could mean it was time to move the camp, or that a storm was coming, or that a child born under white moon carried a special purpose. Even cave paintings, those haunting handprints and animals etched into stone, may have been inspired by dreams. Artists might have seen these forms in vision and felt compelled to bring them to earth, to preserve them in pigment and stone so others might remember and believe. Imagine now, as your eyes gently close, that you too are part of this ancient tradition. Your breath slows, the world dims. A flicker of light appears behind your eyelids. You drift, not just into sleep, but into something deeper. A place without boundaries, without fear. In this place, you are a bird in flight, a tree rooted deep, a memory from before you were born. You are the dreamer, and you are the dream. Let yourself go there. Let the images come and go. Don't chase them. Don't explain them. Just see them, just float. Just be. Because in the quiet of the dream, the oldest truths speak. You are safe. You are home. You are whole. Rest now, and let the dream begin. In a world before the hum of engines, before constant notifications, before the endless noise of modern life, there was silence. Not the cold silence of emptiness, but the living, breathing kind. The silence between birdsong and wind. The quiet pause after a thunderclap. The hush of snowfall across untouched ground. Early humans didn't just hear silence, they lived in it. And in that silence, they listened. Stillness was not absence, it was presence. It was awareness without interruption. It was a doorway into everything unseen. Imagine an early human standing on the edge of a forest at dawn. No words are spoken. The breath is visible in the cool air. All around, the world holds its breath, waiting. In this moment, they aren't bored or anxious or seeking distraction. They are simply aware, attuned, at peace. Our ancestors understood something we are only beginning to remember, that silence is sacred. In the absence of noise, one can hear the earth itself, the shifting of roots, the distant howl of a lone animal, the flutter of an insect's wings. These sounds don't interrupt the silence. They are part of it, threads in the stillness, messages from the world beyond the self. Early humans likely spent long hours in this kind of quiet, whether while hunting, waiting, carving, or simply being. This silence wasn't awkward. It was healing. It was fertile ground for thought, intuition, and even spiritual insight. The shaman in trance, the mother watching the stars, the elder sitting at the fire's dying edge, eyes closed, listening not with ears, but with the soul. Silence wasn't a break from life, it was life itself. Many ancient rituals began with stillness, a moment of breath before action, a pause before speaking, a quiet time at dusk or dawn. Even group gatherings often included long moments of shared silence, when no one felt the need to fill the space with words. And in those moments, something shifted. They felt the pulse of the planet. They heard the voice of ancestors in the wind. They sensed the path ahead, not because someone told them, but because in silence, the knowing arose on its own. Modern minds often fear silence. We fill it, drown it, distract ourselves from it. But early humans embraced it like a trusted friend. It gave them answers. It gave them strength. Now imagine yourself returning to that world. No phone, no voices, just the crackle of a distant fire, the soft thump of your heartbeat in your chest, the steady rhythm of your breathing, the sky above you, infinite, the earth below, solid and welcoming. You are still, you are present. You are not waiting for something to happen, because everything is already happening. Let go of the need to explain. Let go of the rush to respond. You are enough right here, in this moment. This silence does not ask for effort. It asks for presence. Let it hold you. Let it restore you. Let it carry you into rest. In the world of early humans, waiting was not wasted time. It was part of life, as essential as movement, action, or decision. Before instant results, before fast travel, before on-demand answers, our ancestors learned to live with patience, to wait with presence. They waited for animals to migrate, for fruit to ripen, for storms to pass. They waited for wounds to heal, for children to grow, for fire to catch. And unlike the restless waiting of the modern world, full of clocks, deadlines, and scrolling, their waiting was still, intentional, aware. Imagine a hunter crouched in tall grass for hours, unmoving, his breath aligned with the wind. He does not fidget. He does not complain. He listens, watches, waits. His patience is not passive, it is active. Every sense is alert. His entire being is in tune with the moment. Or imagine a gatherer who returns to the same grove again and again, waiting for the exact day the berries reach peak sweetness. She doesn't pick too early. She doesn't rush. She knows the rhythm of ripening, not because she read it somewhere, but because she has watched, remembered, respected. Patience in the ancient world was wisdom. It was survival. And in many ways it was sacred. They knew that everything came in its own time, that no push or pull could force the river to flow faster, that every cycle, birth, death, healing, growth, had its own silent, perfect pace. So they waited. They waited for the moon to change before planting. They waited for dreams to return before acting. They waited in silence for meaning to arise. And in that waiting, they discovered something we often overlook: presence. To wait, truly wait, is to surrender control. Not out of defeat, but out of trust. Trust in the earth. Trust in the body. Trust in time itself. Even rituals required patience. The building of a sacred fire. The preparation of herbal medicine. The telling of long stories that stretched across nights and generations. These were not rushed. They unfolded. They breathed, like seasons. Children were taught this art early. To sit still, to listen longer than they spoke, to observe before touching, to try again and again and again, with no frustration, only quiet focus. Patience was not just tolerated, it was honored. Now, think of your own life. When was the last time you waited? Not with tension, but with peace. When was the last time you let a moment arrive, instead of chasing it? The modern world teaches urgency, but the ancient world teaches presence. And in presence there is calm. There is no need to rush what is ripening. There is no need to hurry what is sacred. You are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be. So, breathe in. Exhale slowly. Let yourself settle, like dust on a quiet path. You are waiting, yes, but not for anything in particular. You are simply being, and that is enough. Rest now, with the patience of the ancestors in your bones. The world will unfold. You only need to be here to witness it. Water, the source, the mystery, the mirror. For early humans, water was not just a necessity, it was life itself. A river was more than a place to drink. A stream was more than sound. A still lake was more than a reflection. Water was spirit. Water was memory. Water was the language of the earth. flowing, shifting, giving and taking in perfect rhythm. They followed it. They camped near it. They learned from its patterns, and most of all, they listened. Imagine walking for days across dry land, feeling the dust rise beneath your feet. Then the sound, faint at first, of moving water. You follow, it grows louder, until at last the shimmer appears a slow, winding river, cold, pure, alive. You kneel, you drink, you feel the pulse of the world flow through your body. To early humans, this moment wasn't just relief, it was communion. Water was sacred. It gave, and it could take away. They watched how rivers carved valleys, how floods gave birth to new life, and how drought silenced the songs of birds. They learned to read the signs, the clouds that thickened before rain, the shift in animal behavior, the scent in the wind. And when water arrived, they celebrated, danced, gave thanks. Many of their rituals centered on water: cleansing ceremonies, fertility rites, births near streams, washings before important decisions. Even death was often honored by placing the body near water, as if returning it to the original one. Rain, too, was a gift. They stood in it, let it soak their skin. Children laughed beneath stormy skies. Elders held their faces upward, eyes closed, receiving it like a blessing. Rain was not something to escape. It was something to receive. They knew that water held memory, that the same drop falling from the sky had once flowed through rivers, fed animals, nourished trees, and filled the lungs of ancestors. Water was a traveler, ancient, wise, never still for long, and through it, they felt connected to everything. Some believed water could carry messages to the spirit world. They whispered their worries into rivers, let tears fall into lakes, tossed small offerings, flowers, stones, bits of food, into streams as signs of gratitude or hope. Even the sounds of water became part of their language. The bubbling of a brook, the rhythm of rainfall on leaves, the crash of waves on rock. These sounds calmed them, taught them, inspired their music, their breath, their prayers. They learned, too, that water shaped them from within. Their bodies were rivers, their emotions, like tides, rose and fell. Their thoughts rippled outward, just like circles in a pond. Water reflected, it revealed. In its surface, they saw not only their faces, but their spirits, their dreams, their fears. Now, imagine yourself beside a calm lake just before sunrise. The air is cool. Mist curls above the surface. You kneel, cup your hands, and lift water to your lips. It tastes like stone, like time, like the beginning of all things. You listen to the gentle lap of waves. You breathe with the rhythm of the stream. Your mind slows. Your heartbeat matches the flow. There is nothing you need to do, nor where you need to be. Just this water, this moment. Let it cleanse you. Let it carry away the weight you didn't realize you were holding. Let it remind you that you too can flow again. Rest now. In the sacred stillness of water, to stay is comfort. To move is destiny. For early humans, migration was not a choice. It was a calling, whispered by the wind, written in the stars, etched into the cycles of life itself. Long before maps, road, or nations, our ancestors walked. Across valleys, over mountains, through forests and deserts. They followed the rhythm of the earth step by step. Why did they move? Some sought food, some followed herds, some chased the seasons. Others left behind what no longer sustained them. Dry lands, dwindling shelter, or danger that pressed too close. But beneath every reason, there was one shared truth: to live meant to move. Migration was not escape. It was continuation. Imagine a small group rising at dawn, their belongings tied in furs, children still drowsy from sleep. The air is cool. The elders walk slowly. The path ahead is unknown, but the instinct is clear: forward. Always forward. Not in haste, but in hope. Every journey carried memory. They marked the way with stones or carved symbols on trees. They remembered the bend in the river, the cave where they once took shelter, the high ridge where the stars felt close enough to touch. Every migration was a moving tapestry of knowledge, woven with stories, songs, and signs. And yet, each departure also held grief. To leave a place was to leave a piece of the soul behind. The place where a child was born, where someone had died, where the rains once fell just right. They touched the earth before leaving it, whispered goodbye, promised to remember. But with grief came anticipation, a pull toward what lay ahead: new water, new food, new sky. Children asked, how far? Elders answered, until it feels right, because destination was not measured in distance, but in feeling, in signs, in alignment. Sometimes they walked for weeks, sometimes for seasons, but they trusted that when they arrived, they would know. Migration was not chaos, it was rhythm. They moved with the animals, with the birds, with the stars. They read the sky like a map, noticing when constellations shifted, when the moon changed shape, when the sun rose slightly differently. These celestial signs guided them just as clearly as any trail beneath their feet. And as they moved, they sang. Songs helped keep time. Songs lifted heavy steps. Songs reminded them of who they were, even far from where they'd been. These weren't fast marches. They were sacred processions. Each footfall a prayer. Each rest a chance to listen to the land. Some places asked them to stay a while. Others said, softly, not yet. The migration was not just physical, it was emotional, spiritual. To walk into the unknown required courage and trust. Trust in the earth, trust in the body, trust in the memory of ancestors who once walked the same path. Now imagine yourself walking beside them. You feel the earth firm beneath your soles. You smell the trees, the distant smoke of a memory fire, the cold breath of morning. You are not Laotian. You carry your home within you, not made of walls but of breath, bones, and stories. Wherever you rest becomes sacred. Wherever you arrive becomes enough. So rest now, traveler, not because your journey is over, but because you are exactly where you need to be. The path continues tomorrow. Tonight there is peace. Death, the silent visitor, the final journey, the great mystery that touches all lives. For early humans, death was not simply an end. It was a passage, a transformation, a part of the endless cycle of existence. Without written words or formal ceremonies, they nonetheless found profound ways to honor their dead, to grieve, and to remember. Imagine a small tribe gathered around the body of someone they loved. A parent, a sibling, a friend. The air is heavy, the fire low. There is no rush, no fear, only reverence. They do not bury hurriedly. Instead, they prepare. They wash the body with water and herbs, perhaps laying it gently on soft furs or leaves. They might adorn it with feathers, stones, or simple tools, tokens of a life lived and a spirit honored. The grave is often marked, a stone placed carefully on the earth, or a simple carving in a nearby tree. This marking is a promise that we remember. You are not forgotten. Mourning was a communal act. Tears were shared. Stories were told. Songs rose into the night sky, carrying grief and love beyond the world of the living. Death also brought reflection. The tribe would gather to think about the mysteries beyond life. The place where spirits might go, the meaning of dreams, the wisdom of ancestors. These reflections gave shape to early beliefs about the afterlife, spirits, and the unseen. In many ways, death connected the living and the dead, not as separate worlds, but as intertwined. The ancestors were not gone, they were near, watching, guiding, and protecting. Even the act of burying was a teaching moment for the young. It taught them about respect, the fragility of life, and the continuity of the human story. It was the first lesson in acceptance, courage, and hope. Through death, early humans learned to cherish life more deeply. Every breath, every smile, every quiet moment around the fire. Imagine now the silence after a goodbye, the stillness of the earth, the soft wind that seems to carry voices, the memory of a hand held, a laugh shared. You are part of this story. You are connected to all who have come before and all who will follow. Rest now, with the understanding that endings are beginnings too. The fire of life continues, and in remembering, we keep the light burning.